Chapter 2088. Yi Xian was dumbfounded. The woman was also dumbfounded. Both of them were dumbfounded. Because neither of their consciousnesses was able to devour the other, the most important thing was that their consciousnesses seemed to have fused, and they both had the other's memories. There was me in you and you in me. Both of them were completely dumbfounded. Beloved. This woman's name was Beloved. And this woman was also a person from this world of the dead. Millions of years ago, the woman shocked this world the moment she was born. Because the woman was born with one of the 10 great evil bodies, the cursed body. The cursed body. Among all the evil bodies, it was ranked first. It symbolized a disaster and also an ominous sign. Because of this, the woman was not welcomed by her family when she was born. She didn't have any friends in her family, and everyone despised her and hated her. Even her father didn't care about her. Only her mother was by her side. Although the woman was lonely, as long as her mother was there, she felt satisfied. But when she was 16, a disaster occurred in this world. The spiritual energy was exhausted. It was similar to the fifth dimension tribulation. In any universe, one's lifespan would come to an end. However, at that time, the people of this world thought that the disaster was caused by the woman. They thought that the Supreme Tendo was punishing the people of this world, and that the Tendo was punishing the people of this world because of Beloved. As a result, a tragedy occurred. In order to appease the public, the woman's family handed her over to the Tendo, but her mother was killed to protect her. Seeing her mother die in front of her, the woman's cursed body was completely awakened. Next, the woman used herself as a medium to curse the entire world. Not only would the people of this world be unable to leave, but they would also become the living dead, rotting and dying little by little. Not only them, but their descendants would also be cursed, unable to leave this world for generations to come. They would then rot and die. Yi Xian collected his thoughts. He had to admit that this Beloved was quite pitiful. At this moment, he somewhat understood why the woman's resentment was so great. Because the people of this city didn't even give her a chance, and they even forced the only person she could rely on to die in front of her. Yi Xian sighed in a low voice. What a sin! On the side, the Beloved stared at Yi Xian. At this moment, she also had all of Yi Xian's memories. However, there were 3 people whose memories she did not have. These 3 people were the woman in the plain dress, the man in the green shirt, and the swordsman. When she fused with Yi Xian's memories, everything about these 3 people was automatically displayed to her. She also wanted to forcefully explore them, but she was shocked to find that she couldn't do it at all. It was obvious that the 3 of them were stronger than her. Actually, when she saw Yi Xian's azure profound sword and that strand of sword qi, she already knew that the person behind Yi Xian was stronger than her. Otherwise, she would utterly not give Yi Xian the chance to compete. Negotiation? Without strength, who would negotiate with you? At this moment, Yi Xian directly left her lover's body. Her lover looked at Yi Xian and didn't say anything. Yi Xian turned to look at Huang. You know the ins and outs of the matter, right? Huang nodded, yes. Yi Xian was silent. Huang said softly, those people in the past are all dead. Yi Xian looked at her lover. Lady Beloved, I, Yi Xian, am not a good person. Because if someone dares to harm my loved ones, I will be even more ruthless than you. So, I will only take Lady Huang and Lady Cassiopeia, is that okay? After a moment of silence, Beloved said, yes. Let the entire world go? She would not. But if she let 2 people go, she was willing to compromise. Yi Xian turned to look at Huang and Cassiopeia. Both of you, this is all I can do. Cassiopeia hurriedly nodded, thank you, young Master Yi. If she didn't go out, she would die here sooner or later. Now, she was just struggling at death's door because she couldn't resist the power of the curse. Even Huang couldn't resist it in the end. They could only barely delay it for a while. After a long silence, Huang nodded, okay. Yi Xian didn't owe this world anything. She couldn't ask Yi Xian to do anything for this world. Asking him again would be too much. Yi Xian nodded slightly, then let's go. At this moment, Hong Zhao suddenly said, what about me? Yi Xian glanced at Hong Zhao, do we know each other well? Hongzhou, Yi Xian directly left with Huang and Xianxia. At this moment, her lover suddenly said, "Wait." Yi Xian stopped. He turned to look at her, puzzled. Her lover stared at Yi Xian. "You have all my memories." Yi Xian nodded. "You also have my memories. We are even." Her lover said angrily, "Even? How can your memories help me? You've been acting all over your life. If you're not showing off, then you're on the way to show off. What's the value of those messy memories?" Yi Xian, her lover suddenly said, "I want to erase all your memories about me." Yi Xian hurriedly shook his head, "No." Her lover's eyes narrowed slightly. "What do you mean?" Yi Xian thought for a moment, and then said, "This memory erasing is very harmful to the body. You can't do this." Of course, he wouldn't let his beloved erase her memories, because he now had all the memories of his beloved's cultivation. All of them. What did this mean? It meant that as long as he was given a little time, he would completely rise. Her lover stared fixedly at Yi Xian, not saying a word. Yi Xian smiled sheepishly. "How about this? I give you some valuable memories, then we are even. What do you think?" Her lover was expressionless. Valuable memories? You mean how to show off? Yi Xian. Meanwhile, her lover suddenly said, "I cannot erase all your memories about me, but you have to do something for me." Yi Xian was slightly puzzled. "What is it?" "Let me say this first. I'm weak and I'm afraid of death, so don't ask me to do something that even you can't do." Her lover spoke indifferently. "Don't worry, I don't need you to do anything, I just want to borrow your sword." "Borrow the sword?" Yi Xian frowned slightly. "Why do you want to borrow the sword?" Her lover spoke indifferently. "Just tell me if you want to borrow it or not." Yi Xian hesitated for a moment, and then said, "I don't want to borrow it." Her lover was expressionless. "Then I'll erase all your memories about me." As she spoke, she was about to attack. Meanwhile, Yi Xian hurriedly said, "It can be discussed." "Discussed?" Her lover fell silent for a moment, and then she said, "I don't want your sword, I just want to borrow it. If you're worried, you can come with me, and I'll return it to you once I'm done using it." Yi Xian glanced at her. "Are you sure?" She nodded. "You have my memories, so you should know what sort of person I am." Yi Xian fell silent for a moment, and then he said, "I can lend it to you, but you have to return it to me once you're done using it." She nodded. "All right." Yi Xian turned around to look at Desolation and Jia Yi. "Miss Desolation, Miss Jia Yi, both of you can leave first." Desolation hesitated for a moment, and then she said, "Take care of yourself." As soon as she finished speaking, she left with Jia Yi. She knew that while her lover's strength was terrifying, he definitely wouldn't dare to kill Yi Xian. After Desolation and Jia Yi left, Yi Xian gazed at her lover. "Miss Dearest, why do you want to borrow my sword?" She spoke indifferently. "Come with me." As soon as she finished speaking, she turned around and left. Yi Xian hesitated for a moment, and then he followed after her. His lover brought him out of the world of death. After that, the two of them passed through hundreds of starfields before they arrived at a lake, and there was a restaurant on the surface of the lake. Yi Xian gazed at her lover. "Where are we?" She didn't speak and just led him to the restaurant. Meanwhile, an old man blocked their path. The old man spoke in a hoarse voice. "Miss Dearest, he isn't qualified to enter." Yi Xian's face instantly darkened. She glanced at Yi Xian. "Lend me your sword." Yi Xian spoke in a low voice. "You're just going to leave me here?" She gazed at Yi Xian. "You can only enter with strength." Yi Xian walked over to the old man and looked him in the eyes. "Do you think I'm very weak?" The old man gazed at Yi Xian. "Yes." Yi Xian opened his palm, and the green profound sword appeared before the old man. "This is a sword that I forged myself. Help me take a look and see if there's anything wrong with it." She gazed at Yi Xian. At this moment, she finally understood what it meant to lie with one's eyes wide open. "Doesn't this fellow blush when he lies?" The old man's expression changed drastically when he saw the green profound sword in front of Yi Xian. Obviously, he'd sensed how extraordinary the green profound sword was. Yi Xian spoke abruptly. "Don't just look at it. Come on, touch it and feel it." As he spoke, he placed the green profound sword in the old man's hand. The old man hesitated for a moment, and then he sensed it. As soon as he did, a sword suddenly flew over from out of nowhere, and then the old man wasn't even able to react before the sword pierced through his forehead. The old man was nailed to the spot and couldn't move at all. He was stunned. The old man's eyes opened wide, and his mind went blank. What happened to me? She gazed deeply into the depths of the starry sky, and there was a wisp of a solemn expression in the depths of her eyes. The sword had come from the starry sky, but she didn't know where it had been drawn from. She seemed to have thought of something, and she suddenly gazed at Xian. That fellow asked her to sense the sword just now. When she thought up to this point, she couldn't help but glare coldly at Xian. This human is full of evil tricks. Actually, Xian was quite stunned as well, because he hadn't expected that Qing would suddenly attack. After all, she wasn't here just now, right? Meanwhile, the old man spoke in a trembling voice. Sir? This? Xian hesitated for a moment, and then he drew the path sword. He was just about to put it away when the path sword transformed into a ray of light that vanished into the distance. Xian gazed at the old man and said, Can I go in now? The old man hurriedly said, Yes. Of course. Xian gazed at her and said, Let's go. The two of them walked towards the pavilion. On the way, she suddenly said, Didn't you say that you wouldn't call for help? Xian gazed at her and said, I didn't. He sensed it himself. She fell silent for a short while before she said, You really are a genius. Xian was speechless. After they entered the pavilion, Xian noticed that there were around 10 rooms in the pavilion, and every single one of them had an extremely terrifying formation before it. Xian gazed at her, and she said indifferently, Let's go upstairs. She led Xian up the stairs as she spoke. As they walked up the stairs, Xian suddenly asked, Honey, why do you want to borrow the sword? She replied indifferently, To kill someone. She paused for a moment and said, But I've changed my mind. Xian was just about to ask about it when a ridiculing voice suddenly resounded from upstairs. Aren't you Honey, who lost to me? What? Are you looking for trouble again? Xian looked over and saw a woman in a black dress sitting not too far away, and there was a saber hanging from her waist. Honey suddenly took the green profound sword from Xian's hand, and then she walked over to the woman. Xian frowned slightly. Is she going to do it just like that? Meanwhile, Honey walked over to the woman in a black dress, and she placed the green profound sword in front of her. Come, sense it. Xian was dumbfounded. P.S. Why are there still 3 chapters today? I'm fucking willful. I like it. I'm happy. Unhappy? Hit me then. Chapter 2089. Try sensing it. Xian had a strange expression on his face. He'd thought that Sweetheart would fight the woman in a black dress. Who was this black-dressed woman? Xian sized her up. She was tall, wore a black dress that was black like ink, and her appearance wasn't inferior to Sweetheart's at all. However, the corners of her mouth were curled up slightly from time to time, and it made her seem slightly arrogant. There was a sheathed saber on her waist. The sheath was completely pitch black, and there were countless mysterious characters inscribed on it. Who's she? Xian was quite curious. The lady in the black dress glanced at the Qingxian sword in front of her lover. In the next moment, she narrowed her eyes, and the sheathed long saber on her waist began to tremble slightly. Not only that, but a sharp saber intent enveloped the Qingxian sword. How could the green profound sword endure such provocation? A sword howl resounded as a strand of sword intent shot towards the sheathed saber. Bang! In an instant, the entire pavilion started to tremble violently. However, the pavilion wasn't destroyed. Xian couldn't help but feel quite shocked because it was extraordinarily strong. Meanwhile, the woman's saber was about to leave its sheath, and the green profound sword was about to struggle free from Sweetheart's grasp. They were about to enter into battle. Right at this moment, a voice suddenly resounded. You can't fight here. As soon as this voice resounded, Xian turned around and saw an old man with a pipe in his hand standing at the entrance. Both Sweetheart and the woman frowned slightly when they saw the old man. The old man glanced at the green profound sword in Sweetheart's grasp, and then he spat out a mouthful of smoke, What a good sword. It's peerless in the world. The woman's brows knit together slightly when she heard this. Old bastard, I'm not convinced by your evaluation. The old man grinned. Miss Shilei, don't be. The strength of the owner of this sword far surpasses the creator of this sword. The woman called Shilei spoke indifferently. Is that so? The old man roared with laughter, and then he gazed at Yi Xian. He sized up Yi Xian and said, Young brother, your background isn't simple at all. May I know who your master is? Yi Xian thought for a moment before saying, Tianming. Tianming. The old man frowned slightly. As he spoke, a hint of battle intent flashed in his eyes. At the instant this trace of battle intent appeared, his pupils constricted. In the next moment, countless fine strands of sword energy had actually appeared throughout his body, and as these fine strands of sword energy appeared, his body started to vanish inch by inch. The expressions of the other two women changed drastically when they witnessed this scene. Yi Xian was also stunned. What was going on? Qing'er is making a move? It shouldn't be. Qing'er wouldn't make a move for no reason. At the side, the old man suddenly put his palms together. All heavens suppress me. Boom. In an instant, countless forces converged towards him. However, those forces were unable to suppress the tiny sword qi on his body. The old man hurriedly looked at Yi Xian. Little friend, please put in a good word for me. Yi Xian hesitated for a moment and said, Qing, forget it. Meanwhile, the fine strands of sword energy on the old man's body suddenly trembled slightly, and then they vanished as if they'd never existed. On the other hand, the old man was drenched in sweat, and his face was pale as a sheet. Yi Xian hesitated for a moment and said, Senior? The old man laughed bitterly. The life profundity. I never expected that your master would actually be at the life profundity. The life profundity. The expressions of the two women changed drastically when they heard the old man, and their eyes were filled with astonishment as they gazed at Yi Xian. Yi Xian frowned slightly. The life profundity? The old man was slightly surprised. You don't know? Yi Xian nodded. I don't. The old man spoke solemnly. The life profundity. It's a realm of legend. According to legend, anyone who attains this realm can sense any living being that calls their name. No living being can call their name directly. Yi Xian spoke solemnly. That's not right. There were others who called Qing'er's name earlier, but she didn't attack. The old man laughed bitterly. When I called her name just now, I had the intention to challenge her. Yi Xian was speechless. However, he was still slightly shocked. What realm is the life profundity? It's actually so mysterious. I can't call her name directly? Meanwhile, the old man spoke solemnly. I never expected that there would actually be a life profundity realm expert in this world. Yi Xian suddenly asked in his heart, Xiao Ta, do you think Qing'er is at the life profundity realm? Xiao Ta fell silent for a moment. Never measure Big Sister Tianming by her realm. Just like those people you met in the past. They said that they could take a blow from Big Sister Tianming. Why did they say that? It's because they underestimated Big Sister Tianming. Of course, in those people's hearts, they thought that they overestimated Big Sister Tianming, but what is the truth? It's like a frog looking at the sky from the bottom of a well. In his eyes, the sky is only as big as the mouth of the well, but in reality? Speaking up to this point, it sighed in a low voice. This old man in front of you, in your opinion, is very, very strong, but according to my experience, I'm afraid it won't be long before this old man becomes an ant. Yi Xian didn't understand. Why? Xiao Ta was a little helpless. Why? Young master, haven't you noticed? Our realm system has collapsed. From the beginning until now, do you remember how many realms you have cultivated? Yi Xian fell silent for a moment. I can't remember. Xiao Ta said, Isn't that it? Yi Xian frowned. Why is it like this? Xiao Ta said indifferently, I refuse to answer this question. Yi Xian didn't understand. Why? Xiao Ta was silent for a long time. You have a halo, but I don't necessarily have one. I better be careful with my words. If one day I, Xiao Ta, die without knowing why, that would be too much of a loss. Yi Xian. At this moment, the old man suddenly said, "Young friend, is this your first time here?" Yi Xian nodded. The old man hesitated, then took out a black card and handed it to Yi Xian. "This is a VIP card. With this card, young friend can come here anytime in the future." Yi Xian was a little curious. "Senior, this place is?" The old man smiled. "Dao Conference." Yi Xian frowned slightly. "Dao Conference?" The old man nodded. "To enter the Dao Conference, one must at least be in Prying Profound realm." "Prying Profound?" Yi Xian said in a deep voice. "Above Prying Profound is Life Profound?" The old man shook his head. "No, above Prying Profound is Awareness Profound, and above Awareness Profound is Life Profound." As he spoke, he glanced at the two women beside him. "They are both in Prying Profound realm, and I am half a step into Profound Awareness realm." Yi Xian was silent. The old man smiled. "Young friend, although this Dao Conference is an organization, everyone is free in it. There are no restrictions, and you can withdraw from the Dao Conference at any time. The purpose of this Dao Conference is to gather the top experts of this universe, and then everyone can discuss the Dao or exchange some things that they need. There are no restrictions." Yi Xian smiled bitterly. "Senior, I mean my realm is so low," the old man hurriedly said. "It doesn't matter, this rule is dead, and people are alive." Yi Xian said with a smile, "Then I'm in." The old man was very happy and immediately said, "Good, young friend, if you need anything in the future, just say it. As long as it is within my ability, I will definitely not refuse." Yi Xian cupped his fists. "Then I thank Senior in advance." The old man smiled. "Don't be too polite, we are all on the same side." Yi Xian. At this time, the old man glanced into the distance. "Two ladies, if you want to fight, please go to another space-time." After speaking, he turned and left. In the room, the two women were silent. At this moment, they were no longer in the mood to fight. "Ming Xian." The good man glanced at Yi Xian. "This guy's background is so big?" That Shi Lei suddenly said, "Good man, why, are you here to gang up on me?" The good man said indifferently, "Gang up on you? You think too highly of yourself. Previously, you relied on the saber in your hand to suppress me. Come, let's fight again now." Shi Lei sneered, "Fight then fight." After speaking, the good man directly disappeared from the spot. Yi Xian frowned slightly. He hesitated for a moment, but still chose not to follow. What was there to see when two women fought? The main reason was that he was afraid that the two women's strength was too strong, and it would affect him. Compared to the two women, there was still a huge gap between his current strength. At this time, Xiaoda said, "Young master, it's time to cultivate." Yi Xian nodded. "Cultivate?" In this place, he became the little brother again. "That won't do." Yi Xian directly entered Xiaoda. He opened his palm, and the green profound sword appeared in his hand. He slowly closed his eyes, and then carefully felt the white day realm. One sword strike to slay a life. He wanted to cultivate this life slay to the extreme. Apart from that, he also wanted to absorb the good man's memories. The good man's cultivation memories were very useful. In the following time, Yi Xian started a crazy cultivation mode. The White Day realm was a special spacetime, and how big was this spacetime? As far as he knew, this was an infinitely big spacetime. In other words, the power of his life slay could be infinitely big. And with the good man's memories, he was very clear about the gap between him and the good man and the other experts of the same level. What he needed the most now was time. Cultivation knew no time. In the blink of an eye, a few dozen years had passed. Of course, only a few days had passed in the outside world. At this moment, he could gather the flowing energy of the entire White Day realm into the green profound sword with a single thought. Moreover, he'd made a new breakthrough in the realm of spirit focus. In other words, his soul. Executing one sword strike to slay a life in a calm and focused state was unimaginable. However, Yi Xian didn't stop, and he started to study reversing time. However, he realized that reversing time was much more difficult than going with time. Within Xiaota, Yi Xian sat cross-legged on the ground. The time within Xiaota was reversed, And since he could borrow the flowing energy of the White Day realm, why couldn't he borrow the power of time reversing in Xiao? When he thought of this, Yi Xian instantly became excited. It's totally possible. Why didn't I think of this before? Just as Yi Xian was about to give it a try, he frowned and left Xiao Ta. Just as he left Xiao Ta, the good man appeared in front of him. At this moment, the good man was extremely miserable. Not only were her arms gone, but there was also a flying knife between her brows. Yi Xian was stunned and then said, "You," the good man said hoarsely, "I'm sorry, the sword was taken." Yi Xian frowned slightly. "Taken? You've never fought against that Shi Lei?" The good man's face was extremely ugly. "She has helpers. Go quickly, their target is you." Yi Xian was shocked. "What the F***CK? Why am I the target?" At this moment, a white light suddenly appeared between the good man's brows, and then she slowly fell down. Yi Xian's expression froze. "Xiao? What should I do?" After a moment of silence, Xiao Ta said, "Their target is you, what does it have to do with me, Xiao Ta?" Yi Xian. Chapter 2090. Looking at his lover in his arms, Yi Xian slightly frowned. What to do? Escape? Since the opponent could hurt his lover, it meant that he could not escape at all. Stay here? Yi Xian deeply frowned. The target was him. He had just revealed that he had a life-profound realm expert behind him, so why did the opponent dare to target him? At this moment, an old man walked in. It was the smoking pipe old man from before, Old Ghost. He had no name, so his lover and the others called him Old Ghost. Old Ghost glanced at his lover in Yi Xian's arms. He hesitated for a moment, then said, "My young friend," Yi Xian said in a deep voice, "Senior, are you here to let me leave?" Old Ghost bitterly smiled. Yi Xian looked at Old Ghost. "Who is targeting me?" Old Ghost hesitated before saying, "Young Master Lan." Yi Xian slightly frowned. "Young Master Lan?" Old Ghost nodded. "Young Master Yi, have you heard of the Tian family's Zhou clan?" Zhou clan. Yi Xian shook his head and looked at Old Ghost. This Old Ghost had changed the way he addressed him from little friend to young Master Yi. Obviously, he could not stay here any longer. Old Ghost bitterly smiled. The Tian family's Zhou clan is the #1 clan in the metaverse. Saying this, he paused before saying, "The Zhou clan also has a life-profound realm expert." Yi Xian was puzzled. "Why am I his target?" Old Ghost said in a deep voice, "It should be young Master Ye's sword. Moreover, Lady Shilei is very close to that young Master Lan." Yi Xian slightly nodded. "I understand." Saying this, he looked at Old Ghost and smiled. "Senior, can you point out a path?" Old Ghost hesitated before saying, "How about we surrender?" Yi Xian's face was full of black lines. Old Ghost bitterly smiled. "Young Master Yi, I know you have a life-profound realm expert behind you, but there is only one person behind you. The Tian family's Zhou clan is not just one person, they are a colossus. Going against them alone is like throwing an egg against a rock." Yi Xian smiled and said, "I don't want to surrender. Senior, I know that they should be outside right now. What I mean is, how can I leave this place safely?" Old Ghost was silent. Yi Xian smiled. "Why not make a small bet?" Old Ghost glanced at Yi Xian. How could he not understand what Yi Xian meant? Should I form a good relationship with him? Old Ghost fell silent. To form this good karma, there is a risk because the ones targeting Yi Xian are the Tian family's Zhou clan. The slightest carelessness could lead to eternal damnation. After a long time, Old Ghost shook his head. "Young Master Yi, I'm sorry. This old man is powerless." Yi Xian smiled and said, "Understood." As he spoke, he put his beloved into Xiao Ta's body and walked outside. Without the Azure Profound Sword, he can't sneak away. Since he can't sneak away, then he will leave openly. Seeing Yi Xian walking outside, Old Ghost was silent. He knew that Yi Xian's origin isn't simple. However, no matter how extraordinary it is, can it be compared to the Tian family's Zhou clan? Not to mention a life-profound realm expert, even if there are two of them, they don't have the qualifications to fight against the Tian family's Zhou clan. If you don't surrender, only death awaits. Just as Yi Xian left the pavilion, he saw a man and a woman. The woman is Shi Lei from before. As for the man, he is wearing a white robe with his long hair draped over his shoulders. He is playing with the azure profound sword in his hand. Behind them, there are two old men in black robes. This man is Zhou Lan. Zhou Lan looked at Yi Xian and smiled. Your sword is very good. I want it. Yi Xian hesitated for a moment and said, You are Zhou Lan of the Tian family's Zhou clan? The man's eyes flashed with a trace of surprise. You've heard of me? Yi Xian smiled bitterly. Who hasn't heard of young Master Lan's name? Zhou Lan laughed. Interesting. As he spoke, he sized up Yi Xian and said, I really like this sword of yours. Yi Xian immediately said, Since young Master Lan likes it, then I will give it to you. Zhou Lan smiled. You are very tactful. I like smart people. As he spoke, he sized up the azure profound sword and said, I really like this sword. However, there seems to be a mysterious energy sealing it. I can't use it. You must know what's going on, right? Yi Xian nodded. When my sister forged this sword, she placed a forbidden technique on it. Only she and I can use it. I can use it, but I can't unseal it. If you want to use it, you must sense this sword and contact my sister. Zhou Lan frowned. Your sister? Yi Xian nodded. She's the one who forged this sword. Zhou Lan smiled. I'll contact her? Yi Xian nodded slightly. Meanwhile, Shi Lei suddenly said, Be careful of a trap. Yi Xian glanced at Shi Lei and smiled bitterly. Miss Shi Lei, what trap could there be? He's just using this sword to contact my sister. Could it be that my younger sister could kill young Master Lan from countless star domains away? If that's the case, then it's too ridiculous. Shi Lei gazed at Yi Xian. You don't seem like an honest person. Yi Xian was speechless. Meanwhile, Zhou Lan suddenly smiled and said, Miss Shi Lei, you are too cautious. Just as he said, could his sister kill me from countless star fields away? As he spoke, he held the azure profound sword in his right hand and slowly closed his eyes. Shi Lei hesitated for a moment. She wanted to persuade him, but she didn't in the end. She didn't believe that Zhou Lan could kill Zhou Lan from countless stellar regions away. After all, Zhou Lan was a half-step into the profound knowledge realm. Yi Xian looked at Zhou Lan, hesitated for a moment, and then glanced around. Meanwhile, Zhou Lan suddenly smiled and said, You want to leave? Yi Xian looked at Zhou Lan, and Zhou Lan smiled. I didn't say you could leave. You'd better stay there and not move, understand? Yi Xian hurriedly nodded. Yes, I understand. Zhou Lan smiled slightly and was about to say something when he suddenly looked up into the depths of the starry sky, and a smile appeared on his face. I sensed, Qi. A sword appeared out of nowhere, and Zhou Lan didn't even have time to react before the sword pierced through his forehead. Bang! In an instant, Zhou Lan's body trembled violently, and his body and soul instantly started to become illusory. Instant kill. The expressions of Shi Lei and the two black-robed old men behind her instantly changed drastically. One of the black-robed old men said angrily, How presumptuous! How dare you injure my Zhou clan? He hadn't even finished speaking when the sword within Zhou Lan's body suddenly flew out and pierced through his forehead. The black-robed old man's voice stopped abruptly. He'd been instantly killed. He hadn't even been able to fight back. Shi Lei and the other black-robed old man were petrified on the spot. Meanwhile, Yi Xian walked slowly over to Zhou Lan, and then he removed the green profound sword and spatial ring from Zhou Lan's finger. After that, he said, Young Master Lan, can I leave now? Zhou Lan gazed at Yi Xian. If I die, then all 10 of your clans will be annihilated. 10 clans. Yi Xian thought for a moment and said, I'm really quite afraid if you want to annihilate me, but if you want to annihilate all 10 of my clans. When he spoke up to here, he chuckled. Zhou Lan stared fixedly at Yi Xian, and his eyes were filled with resentment. Besides resentment, there was a trace of terror as well. Because he noticed that he was really going to die. No one could save him. Meanwhile, Yi Xian turned around and left. However, he'd only taken a few steps when he suddenly gazed at Shi Lei. Shi Lei's expression instantly changed drastically when she saw Yi Xian look over, and she instinctively took a few steps back. Yi Xian opened his palm and said, "Hand over your spatial ring." Shi Lei was speechless. Yi Xian's brows knit together slightly while Shi Lei's expression instantly changed drastically. She hurriedly removed her spatial ring, and then she tapped it with her finger. The spatial ring flew over to Yi Xian. Yi Xian didn't hold back at all. He immediately put the spatial ring away, and then he turned around and left. He was very swift and instantly vanished into the starry sky. He'd fled. Shi Lei and Zhou Lan's minds were still blank on the spot. Young Master Lan is dead. He was killed with a single swing of the sword. It felt like a dream. On the other side, the old ghost's face was covered in astonishment as well. He hadn't expected such an outcome. Right at this moment, an old man suddenly appeared here. The old man glanced at the surroundings before his gaze descended onto the black-robed old man. What happened? The black-robed old man hurriedly said, "Greetings, third elder." The old man spoke fiercely, "I'm asking you what happened?" The black-robed old man's voice trembled. "Young Master Lan was killed." The old man's eyes narrowed slightly. "Who did it?" The black-robed old man's voice trembled. "I don't know." A wisp of ghastly killing intent flashed through the third elder's eyes. "Lan was killed right in front of you, yet you say you don't know who killed him." The black-robed old man spoke bitterly. "Third elder, this is very strange." As he spoke, he told the third elder about what happened just now. The third elder's eyes narrowed when he finished listening to the black-robed old man. A long time passed before he glanced at the surroundings and said, "Send my orders. Anyone who kills these two will be rewarded with 100 star veins. Anyone who can provide their whereabouts will be rewarded with 50 star veins." The black-robed old man bowed slightly. "Understood." As he finished speaking, he retreated. The third elder coldly glanced around, his eyes filled with malevolence. "Who dares to touch the Tian family's Zhou clan?" As he spoke, he was about to leave. At this moment, the old ghost suddenly appeared at the side. He looked at the third elder and said, "Your Excellency, the one who killed young Master Lan should be that woman called Tian Ming." When he said this, he was very careful, and there was not the slightest bit of disrespect in his heart. Facing a life-profound realm expert, even the slightest bit of disrespect would be known by the other party. The reason why he came out was to form a good relationship with the Tian family's Zhou clan, and at the same time, to remind them that there was a life-profound realm expert behind Yi Xian. The third elder frowned slightly. "Tian Ming?" The old ghost nodded. "It was this person who killed young Master Lan across a star field. Because I came into contact with this person before, he should be at the life-profound realm, and this person is behind Yi Xian." Young Master Lan didn't know that Yi Xian was dangerous, so he forcefully tried to sense this person and was killed by this person in the end. The third elder's eyes flashed with malevolence. How could it be life-profound realm? The Tian family's Zhou clan knows all the life-profound realm experts in the mortal Yuan universe, but I have never heard of this Tian Ming. The old ghost hurriedly said, "Third elder, you must not be disrespectful to her, otherwise..." The third elder mocked. "What? Can she kill me in a second?" As he spoke, he raised his head and looked around, then he grinned. "Tian Ming? Life profound? If you have the ability, then kill me in a second, come." Before he finished speaking, a sword directly pierced his forehead. His voice stopped abruptly. At the side, the old ghost's face was filled with shock. At this moment, there was only one thought in his mind. Did I harm him? Chapter 2091. At this moment, the third elder was completely stupefied. He was insta-killed. He had never thought that he would die in such a sullen manner. He didn't even see who it was. It really was Ming Xian. The third elder gulped. He looked at the old ghost beside him and said with a trembling voice, It's really Ming Xian." Old ghost hesitated for a moment, then nodded. The third elder roared, "Why didn't you say so earlier?" Old ghost was dumbfounded. Didn't I say it? It seemed like he himself didn't believe it. Meanwhile, third elder had vanished completely. Directly annihilated. Gone. Old Ghost froze on the spot, and his mind was in a mess. A living person was gone just like that. Did he underestimate that woman called Tianming? This thought suddenly appeared in Old Devil's mind. Could it be that the opponent was not only at the life-profound realm? As soon as this thought appeared in his mind, Old Ghost shook his head and smiled. He felt that this idea of his was somewhat absurd. Even the Tian family's Zhou clan doesn't have an esper above life mystic realm. That woman was above life profound? Absolutely impossible. Thinking of this, he hesitated for a moment before getting up and heading to the Tian family's Zhou clan. He still did not want to let go of this good karma, so he wanted to remind the experts of the Tian family and Zhou clan to be careful of the plain-dressed woman. In an unknown part of the starry sky, within the Xiaota, Yixian looked at his lover in front of him. His lover's injuries had already recovered. Her lover looked at Yixian. "Why are you looking at me?" Yixian spoke in a low voice. "Not long ago, you were still an invincible existence. But now you've been hung up and beaten. I realized that my power couldn't keep up with the speed of the map's changes. If this goes on, I might be played to death." The man said angrily, "The four of them are ganging up on me." Yixian sighed in a low voice. He sat aside and didn't say anything else. Needless to say, with the appearance of this Tian family's Zhou clan, he was having a headache. He had just come out of close seclusion and his strength increased greatly. However, what he did not expect was that the enemy changed again. How could this be? Yixian had a headache. At this time, his lover suddenly said, "What are you going to do?" Yixian looked at his lover. "Do you think they'll let you off?" Her lover was silent. Yixian suddenly said, "My beloved lady, let us join forces to destroy the Tian family and the Zhou family." The man looked at Yixian. "You don't have a fever, do you?" Yixian's face darkened. "You're the one who's horny." The man frowned. "If you don't have a fever, why would you say such ignorant words?" Yixian calmly said, "Is the Tian family's Zhou family very strong?" Liang Ren stared at Yixian. "I can understand if you don't know about the Dao organization. After all, the Dao organization is a relatively secretive organization, but you don't know about the Tian family and the Zhou family. This is really abnormal." Yixian smiled and asked, "Is he very strong?" The Tian clan's Zhou clan has at least 3 life profound realm experts. Do you think they're strong? Life profound? Yixian nodded and said nothing. His beloved said in a deep voice, "The person behind you dares to kill the Tian family's Zhou family's people?" At this point, she frowned. "She's not life profound?" Yixian smiled. "Lady Liang, let me ask you, do you want to destroy the Zhou family?" Liang Ren looked at Yixian. "Just you and me?" Yixian nodded. Liang Ren shook her head. "Impossible." Yixian chuckled. "If you're willing to believe me, then we'll join hands. If you don't believe me, then you can leave now. I'll go play with them myself." Liang Ren sank. After a long silence, she stood up and turned to leave. But after 2 steps, she stopped and turned to look at Yixian. "I believe you." Yixian nodded. "Now, the first step is to cultivate." Liang Ren frowned. "Cultivate now?" Yixian nodded. Liang Ren said in a deep voice, "Is it useful?" Yixian took a look around and then said, "Look here." Liang Ren looked around. The next moment, her face changed. The flow of time was different. Liang Ren looked at Yixian. "If outsiders know about this Xiaota, the entire metaverse will go crazy." Yixian smiled. "Then don't let outsiders know. Lady Liang Ren, your first goal is to reach profound awareness. At the same time, give me some pointers. In terms of cultivation, I need your help." Liang Ren nodded. "Okay." Yixian opened his palm. The green profound sword appeared in his hand. He looked at Liang Ren. "Lady Liang Ren, I want to see the power of my sword. Be careful." As he spoke, he directly brought his beloved to a deathly silent starfield. This star region was devoid of spirit energy. There was no life. It was perfect for cultivation and fighting. Yixian looked at Liang Ren. "Lady Liang Ren, be careful." As soon as he said this, An endless flow of power gathered in the green profound sword. The next moment, her thumb lightly flicked and the sword struck out. In the distance, Liang Runren's pupils shrank. Facing Yi Xian's terrifying sword, she didn't dare to be careless. She took a step forward and pointed out with a finger. As this finger fell, the space-time in front of her caved in. Within that caved-in space-time, countless mysterious forces were wildly destroying everything. However, these forces were quickly annihilated as soon as they appeared. Seeing this scene, Liang Run was shocked. Her figure trembled and she retreated hundreds of thousands of feet away. And with Yi Xian as the center, the space-time in a radius of hundreds of thousands of feet was completely annihilated. In the distance, Liang Runren stared at Yi Xian. World of daylight. Yi Xian nodded. What do you think about the power of my sword? Liang Renren was silent for a moment. Invincible. Yi Xian was stunned. Invincible? Liang Renren nodded. Yi Xian frowned. How can that be? That sword just now couldn't do anything to you at all. The man shook his head. You're wrong. If I had chosen to face you head-on, I would have died under your sword. Yi Xian said solemnly, Isn't it still useless? Her lover glared at Yi Xian. You call this useless? Do you know that this sword of yours has caused time to flow for tens of thousands of years? Under the flow of time, any power will be destroyed. Of course, it was not absolute. A life-profound realm expert should be able to block your power. However, I cannot be certain. Then she shook her head. No one under the life-profound realm dares to fight you. If you hadn't attacked first, I would have died for sure. Yi Xian understood. The backup plan. If his beloved made the first move and he made the second move, it meant that his beloved would not be able to dodge his sword. Once they met head-on, those below the life-profound realm would die without a doubt. Thinking of this, the corners of Yi Xian's mouth lifted slightly. This sword was still effective. Her lover looked at Yi Xian. How did you draw out the power of the White Day world? Yi Xian waved the profound azure sword in his hand. Her lover looked deeply at Yi Xian. Your sister is definitely not just at the life-profound realm. Yi Xian was a bit puzzled. Is it so difficult to draw out the power of the White Day world? Her lover shook her head. You can try without the sword. Yi Xian smiled. Without the profound azure sword, he realized that he really could not draw it out. He also did not dare to draw it out. He could not endure the power of the White Day world. In fact, he did not say that he did not use his full strength in that sword. What was it? A full-strength sword? In a calm and focused state, he could summon the power of the 10,000 worlds in the heavens and earth. Moreover, he could activate the power of his bloodline, sword force, and momentum. Finally, he could use the life-severing sword. This state was his strongest sword. As for how strong this sword was, he did not know. In any case, as long as the life-profound realm did not come out, he should be able to do whatever he wanted. Thinking of this, Yi Xian could not help but grin. Actually, it was not a bad thing for the enemy to be a bit stronger. The stronger the enemy, the more motivation he would have. Life, should have a bit of difficulty. Zhou clan? Challenge him. Yi Xian withdrew his thoughts and said, Lady lover, let us continue to cultivate. Next, I want to cultivate against time. Her lover frowned slightly. Against time? Yi Xian nodded slightly. In fact, he had long wanted to cultivate against time. It was to use the profound azure sword to draw out the power of time in Xiao Ta's body. Under normal circumstances, a prying profound realm expert could only reverse time for about a breath of time. However, the time in Xiao Ta's body was different from the outside. It was the complete opposite of the White Day world. Just imagine, he could reverse 10 years with one sword. As if he thought of something, Yi Xian's pupils suddenly shrank. Cutting the future. Damn it. Did father use this method to reverse time when he slashed the future? If he could really draw out the power of time in Xiao Ta's body, wouldn't it mean that he could cut the future with one sword? It was very mysterious. But Yi Xian was very excited because his intuition told him that it should be possible. Against time. Yi Xian said, Xiao Ta, I may need your cooperation. Xiaota said in a deep voice, "How can I cooperate with you?" Yixian said, "I need the power of time in Xiaota's body." Xiaota said, "Young master, I also do not know what kind of power it is. In any case, it was left here by Sister Tianming. For now, there should be no limit to that power." Yixian nodded, "I want to try. If you sense anything, tell me." Xiaota said, "Okay." Yixian opened his palm and the green profound sword floated above his palm. In the next moment he slowly closed his eyes. At the same time, Xiaota and his body began to tremble slightly. In the distance, Darling looked at Yixian and frowned slightly. This guy wants to reverse time? Actually, she could also reverse time. However, she could only reverse time for about 10 breaths. Against a powerhouse with a lower realm than her, this was very useful. With a reverse time, the opponent would not be able to fight back. However, against an opponent of the same realm, this was too useless. Because everyone could reverse time, and it consumed a lot of energy. At this moment, the green profound sword in Yixian's hand suddenly trembled slightly. In the next moment, a mysterious power suddenly surged into the green profound sword and the surrounding starlight suddenly became distorted. At this moment, Yixian suddenly slashed at Darling. Darling frowned slightly and was about to defend, but in the next moment, she found that she was completely fine. What was going on? After a quarter of an hour, Darling's eyes suddenly narrowed because a strand of hair beside her ear had silently fallen off. Slashing the future. What was slashing the future? With this slash of my sword, the one who dies is not the current you, but the future you. At this moment, Yixian suddenly roared, "I'm invincible. Dad, come out, I'm going to beat you to death." Xiaota. P.S. Happy Labor Day. Brothers who go home, be careful. Everyone eat well and have fun. As for me, I won't go out on Labor Day. I'll focus on writing at home. I love you all. Chapter 2092. Calm down. Xiaota hurriedly said, "Young master, calm down. Calm down." Yixian's blood is boiling and he said excitedly, "I can't calm down. Xiaota, we are going to rise." Xiaota said in a deep voice, "Young master, you are already able to sever the future, but master can do it too. Dad can do it too." Yixian blinked his eyes, and his mind suddenly became a little clearer. Xiaota hesitated for a moment, and then said, "What you know now might be the leftovers from his previous play." Yixian's face instantly darkened. Xiaota continued, "But I think you should be able to fight with master now, and the next time you meet, you can fight with him. If you can beat him, then kill him. If you can't, then just surrender. In any case, it's not shameful for a son to surrender to his dad." Yixian thought for a moment, and then he nodded, "That makes sense." At this moment, his beloved suddenly said, "How did you do it?" Yixian looked at his beloved, and his beloved's eyes are filled with disbelief. Yixian laughed. "Isn't this a very simple matter? I just need a pagoda and a sword." His beloved's expression froze. Damn it. She wants to kill this idiot in front of her. If he has a pagoda and a sword, it is indeed very simple, but the problem is, where can he find this pagoda and this sword? Comparing oneself to others is really infuriating. Yixian continued to cultivate this sever the future, but he quickly realized that this power of reverse time is very difficult to control, and he can at most reverse time for half a quarter of an hour. After that, he realized that it is very difficult. Moreover, he realized that the power of reverse time within Xiaota is completely different from his beloved's and the others. The power of reverse time from his beloved's and the others allows them to return to a breath of time, but his power of reverse time directly targets the opponent's future. There is a fundamental difference. Actually, they are both reverse time, but the reverse direction is different. Needless to say, at this moment, his beloved's heart is very shocked. No, shocked. Yixian's severing life and severing future were truly terrifying. In this world, aside from the life-profound realm, there was probably no one who could be his opponent. Not long ago, she could have pinched this guy to death with one hand. But now, she might not be his opponent. Was this the second generation? Cultivation does not rely on cultivation, but on fighting. Yi Xian suddenly said, "Dear lady, let's go." His lover looked at Yi Xian. "To the Zhou clan?" Yi Xian laughed. "Yes." His lover hesitated for a moment and said, "Do you want to cultivate for a while longer?" Yi Xian frowned. "But are you afraid that I can't beat them?" His lover nodded honestly. "They have at least 3 life profound realm experts." Yi Xian waved his hand. "They're just ants." After that, he directly left Xiaota. In Xiaota's room, his lover was having a headache. Why is this guy so arrogant? Heaven Realm. In the Yuan universe, the Zhou clan is undoubtedly a colossus. It could be said that if the Zhou clan lightly stomps their feet, the entire Yuan universe will tremble. But now, something happened in the Zhou clan that wasn't too big or too small for the Zhou clan. A young master and an elder of the Zhou clan died. Zhou Lan's position in the Zhou clan was not particularly high and he was not a core member. However, he was from the Zhou clan and someone dared to kill him. This was equivalent to slapping the Zhou clan's face. Most importantly, the third elder was also killed. Although there were internal conflicts within the Zhou clan, when faced with this matter, everyone was unusually united. Those who dared to provoke the Zhou clan must be exterminated. On this day, a great elder of the Zhou clan left the Heaven Realm. This person's name is Zhou Hao, a great elder of the Zhou clan and a life profound realm expert. He directly sent out a life profound realm expert. Because since the other party dared to go against the Zhou clan, it was very obvious that the other party was a life profound realm expert. Since it was a life profound realm expert, then a life profound realm expert was needed to deal with it. Just as Zhou Hao left the Heaven Realm, he met Elder Ghost who came to report. Zhou Hao also knew this Elder Ghost because, according to the Zhou clan's information, Elder Ghost was present when Zhou Lan was killed. The spectral elder immediately bowed respectfully when he saw Zhou Hao. He was extremely humble. Life profound realm. This was undoubtedly the existence at the top of the pyramid of the Yuan universe. Zhou Hao looked at Elder Ghost. "You were there." Elder Ghost nodded. "Yes." Zhou Hao's expression was calm. "Tell me." Elder Ghost quickly said, "The one who killed young Master Zhou Lan was a woman called Tianming. She was a life profound realm expert." Life profound realm. Zhou Hao frowned. "I've never heard of this person." Elder Ghost smiled bitterly. "She is indeed a life profound realm expert. Moreover, I know how to contact her." Zhou Hao looked at Elder Ghost. "How?" Elder Ghost whispered a few words. Zhou Hao frowned. "Like this." Elder Ghost nodded. Zhou Hao said softly, "I never thought there would be another life profound realm expert." As he spoke, he lifted his head towards the faraway stars and slowly closed his eyes. "Tianming, come out and fight. Come out and fight." He knew that if the opponent was a life profound realm expert, he would be able to hear him. However, there was no response. Zhou Hao frowned and looked towards the depths of the stars. "You don't dare." Pissed. As soon as he finished speaking, a sword suddenly sank into Zhou Hao's forehead. Boom. In an instant, Zhou Hao's body violently trembled. His flesh and soul instantly dissipated. Directly erased. Directly gone. All the nonsense before death was gone. Elder Ghost was dumbfounded. This person was gone just like that. Soon, Elder Ghost's body began to tremble. Not only that, his face paled and cold sweat flowed. This was extreme fear. Instantly killing a life profound realm expert? If it hadn't happened right in front of him, he would never have believed it. Someone had instantly killed a life profound realm expert. Did he underestimate Tianming? At this moment, Elder Ghost didn't think this idea was absurd anymore. At this moment, the sword in front of Elder Ghost suddenly trembled and then disappeared. Elder Ghost hesitated for a moment, then bowed respectfully before turning to leave. His body was still trembling as he walked. Life profound realm? It was obvious that the woman wasn't a life profound realm expert. Young Master Yi. Elder Ghost suddenly felt that young Master Yi was actually quite a nice person. What a low-key, modest, and gentle person. Yi Xian. Not long after Elder Ghost left, a middle-aged man appeared. It was the Zhou clan's patriarch, Zhou Qing. Beside Zhou Qing was a woman. She wore a long purple dress, and her features were picturesque. She was extremely beautiful. This person was the #1 monster of the primordial universe, Zhou Exin. Zhou Exin glanced at the surroundings with a calm expression. Since they were able to kill second uncle without anyone noticing, it means that they either have 3 life profound realm experts, or their strength is far above the life profound realm. Above the life profound realm. Zhou Qing frowned when he heard this. That's not possible. Zhou Exin glanced at the surroundings and spoke in a low voice. It's not possible. However, even 3 life profound sword realm experts wouldn't be able to kill second uncle without anyone noticing. When she spoke up to this point, she slowly closed her eyes. My Zhou clan might be in trouble. Trouble? Zhou Qing frowned slightly. It can't be that bad, right? Zhou Exin shook her head slightly. Father, we've already lost a life profound realm expert, and he died without anyone noticing. Isn't that troublesome? Zhou Qing fell silent. Zhou Exin glanced at the surroundings and said, My Zhou clan has been invincible since 10 million years ago. Under such circumstances, it's unavoidable for our clansmen to become arrogant and look down on others. When she spoke up to this point, she shook her head slightly. It's very likely that things will go south. Zhou Qing looked at Zhou Exin. What do you think we should do? Zhou Exin fell silent for a moment, and then she said, The cause of this is that youth called Yi Xian. I'll go investigate. Zhou Qing frowned slightly. You'll go investigate? Zhou Exin nodded. I'll do it myself. Zhou Qing said in a deep voice. In half a month, you will become the Zhou clan leader. At this time, how can you? Zhou Exin looked at Zhou Qing. This concerns the rise and fall of my Zhou clan. No, it concerns the survival of my Zhou clan. I have to personally investigate this youth called Yi Xian. Before I finish investigating, the clan is not allowed to send anyone to target him, and we are not allowed to find trouble with him. Zhou Qing hesitated for a moment, and then nodded, all right. Although he was the clan leader, the power of the Zhou clan was already in Zhou Exin's hands. Of course, he wasn't unhappy because this was his own daughter. Other than those few perverts, who wouldn't want their children to be stronger than them. Zhou Exin said again, Father, when I'm not here, you must restrain the clansmen, especially those rich playboys of the younger generation. Zhou Qing smiled. I know. When you come into contact with that Yi Xian, you must also be careful. As you said, there might be a huge unknown force behind him. Zhou Exin nodded slightly. I will. As she spoke, she turned around and disappeared into the horizon. Zhou Qing looked into the distant horizon and frowned. An unknown mysterious force? After a moment of silence, he turned and left. On the other side, Yi Xian headed straight for the Zhou clan in the heavenly world. Right now, he wanted to fight. Invincible. This feeling was back again. At this moment, Yi Xian suddenly stopped. Not far away, a middle-aged man appeared. The middle-aged man was dressed in a luxurious robe, and his hands were hidden in his wide sleeves. Behind the middle-aged man, there were 2 black-robed elders with cold expressions on their faces. It was obvious that the 3 of them were not easy to deal with. Yi Xian sized up the 3 of them and then said, You are? The middle-aged man in the lead sized up Yi Xian, then took out a portrait and looked at it. Following that, he looked at Yi Xian. You are Yi Xian? Yi Xian nodded. The middle-aged man nodded slightly. That's right. As he spoke, he clenched his right fist. Yi Xian suddenly said, You are? The middle-aged man grinned coldly. You are wanted by the Tian clan. Your head can be exchanged for dozens of star veins. Dozens of star veins. Yi Xian frowned slightly. So little? The middle-aged man stared at Yi Xian. Is it little? Yi Xian smiled, then suddenly pulled out his sword and slashed, then turned around and left. The middle-aged man was slightly stunned, a little puzzled. What are you doing? Yi Xian didn't speak and continued to walk into the distance. The middle-aged man's eyes flashed a touch of malevolence. Ignoring us? At this moment, his eyebrows suddenly split open, and a stream of blood spurted out. Slashing the future. The middle-aged man's eyes were wide open, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. In the distance, Yi Xian suddenly stopped. He looked up into the depths of the starry sky with a trace of loneliness in his eyes. Invincible, so lonely. Xiao Ta. Chapter 2093. Being invincible is really lonely. Xiao Ta said in a deep voice, "Young master, have you forgotten the rule that you can't stay cool for more than 3 days?" Yi Xian laughed. "This time, it will definitely be different." His words were filled with invincible confidence. Xiao Ta wanted to say something but hesitated. Yi Xian smiled. "Why? You don't believe me?" Xiao Ta sighed. "Young master, it's better for you to keep a low profile." Yi Xian laughed. "If one isn't frivolous, it would be a waste of youth." Xiao Ta. Yi Xian directly disappeared into the starry sky. Inside Xiao Ta, his lover was also cultivating. Her improvement could be described as terrifying. After all, she was cultivating inside Xiao Ta. Most importantly, there were more than 100 star veins inside Xiao Ta. There was a lot of spiritual energy. Not long after, Yi Xian stopped. Not far in front of him, there was a huge starry sky city. Yi Xian looked at the huge city. Above the gate, there were 3 big words, Chaoyuan City. Yi Xian walked towards Chaoyuan City. As soon as he arrived at the city gates, a woman suddenly walked out of the city. The woman was dressed in a long purple dress and had a purple belt around her waist. Her waist was slender. The two of them were about to pass each other. At this moment, the woman suddenly stopped and turned to look at Yi Xian. "Young Master Yi?" Yi Xian stopped and looked at the woman. "You know me?" The woman nodded. Yi Xian smiled. "You're from the Zhou clan?" The woman was slightly stunned. Obviously, she didn't expect Yi Xian to suddenly ask such a question. And she was Zhou Xian. Zhou Xian was straightforward, nodding his head slightly to acknowledge his identity. Yi Xian looked around and said, "I don't sense anyone powerful. Did you come alone?" Zhou Xian smiled. "Can I talk to young Master Yi alone?" Yi Xian nodded. "Sure." Zhou Xian nodded. "Young Master Yi, follow me." After saying that, she turned around and walked towards the city. On the way, Zhou Xian said softly, "This city was originally called Imperial Flourishing City. It was once the capital city of a super empire. Later on, that super empire was destroyed overnight. Then this city fell into the hands of my Zhou clan." Yi Xian was a little curious. Super empire? Zhou Xian glanced at Yi Xian. "Xianxia." Yi Xian frowned. "Never heard of it." Zhou Xian smiled faintly. "Looks like young Master Yi came from another place." Yi Xian nodded. He looked around. The city was very ancient, and there were all kinds of runes drawn on the walls. Clearly, this was some kind of array formation. As if he had thought of something, Yi Xian suddenly asked, "Miss, you said that a super empire was suddenly destroyed. How was it destroyed?" Zhou Xian whispered, "It was said that it was destroyed by a swordsman." "Swordsman?" Yi Xian frowned slightly. "What kind of swordsman?" Zhou Xian said, "I don't know his name. I only know that he wore a cloud-white robe." Hearing that, Yi Xian suddenly exclaimed, "F***CK." Zhou Xian turned to look at Yi Xian. "Young Master Yi knows him?" Yi Xian's expression turned strange. "Big brother? That shouldn't be the case. Big brother is different from Qing'er. He usually finds people to spar with. Why would he destroy a city? Could there be another reason?" At this moment, Zhou Xian suddenly asked, "Young Master Yi knows that swordsman?" Yi Xian glanced at Zhou Xian. "If I said that I know him, would you believe me?" Zhou Xian nodded. "I believe you." Yi Xian was a little puzzled. "Why do you believe me?" Zhou Xian smiled and did not say a word. Yi Xian was about to speak when Zhou Xian led Yi Xian into a luxurious restaurant. Why was it luxurious? This was because this restaurant was actually constructed from various types of precious crystals. After entering the restaurant, a very beautiful woman walked over slowly. The woman walked in front of Zhou Xian and Yi Xian and bowed respectfully. Zhou Xian took out a card and handed it to the woman. The woman was slightly taken aback before she took the card and said, "Miss, please follow me." After that, she gestured for him to go ahead, then turned around and walked upstairs. Zhou Exen led Yi Xian and followed. Yi Xian sized up the woman leading the way. He was a little speechless. This woman was wearing too little, especially her chest. She deliberately revealed half of it. Although it was very big, he still felt that it was not good. He was a man of honor. Under the woman's lead, Yi Xian and Zhou Exen came to a side room. The two of them sat by the window. From this position, they could see half of the city. The scenery was very good. After the woman left, Zhou Exen looked at Yi Xian. "Young Master Yi, are you going to the heaven realm this time?" Yi Xian nodded. Zhou Exen was silent for a moment before saying, "Revenge?" Yi Xian nodded. "Isn't your Zhou clan searching for me everywhere? There is no need to search for me. I will do it myself." Zhou Exen smiled. "Young Master Yi, do you know that the Zhou clan has a few life-profound realm experts?" Yi Xian nodded. "I know." Zhou Exen looked at Yi Xian. "Then young Master Yi is still going?" Yi Xian suddenly asked, "Miss, is the life-profound realm very strong?" Zhou Exen was slightly startled and asked back, "Not strong?" Yi Xian smiled without saying a word. Zhou Exen was silent for a moment before saying, "Young Master Yi, the matter between you and the Zhou clan is a misunderstanding. I came to find you today to resolve this misunderstanding." Yi Xian looked at Zhou Exen. "Can you represent the Zhou clan?" Zhou Exen nodded. Yi Xian nodded. "Since it is a misunderstanding, then we are fine." "Fine." Zhou Exen looked at Yi Xian. "Really?" Yi Xian nodded. Zhou Exen was silent for a long time before saying, "Then we are fine." Yi Xian stood up and smiled. "Miss, can you help me with something?" Zhou Exen said, "Tell me." Yi Xian smiled. "Where can I find a life-profound realm expert?" Zhou Exen looked at Yi Xian. "You want to find a life-profound realm expert?" Yi Xian nodded. "I want to spar with a life-profound realm expert." Zhou Exen was silent for a long time before saying, "I'm afraid it will be difficult to help young Master Yi with this favor." Yi Xian was puzzled. "Why?" Zhou Exen said, "Because life-profound realm experts are the peak existences in the metaverse. Sparring with them is very difficult." Yi Xian said with a smile, "All right." Zhou Exen suddenly said, "If young Master Yi wants to find someone to spar with, I know a place in Daoist that can bring young Master Yi there." Yi Xian was curious. "Where?" Zhou Exen looked at Yi Xian. "The Emperor's tomb." Yi Xian frowned. "The Emperor's tomb?" Zhou Exen nodded. "The Emperor's tomb of Xianxia. Some of the fallen emperors of Xianxia are buried there. That place is very dangerous. Young Master Yi can go there." Yi Xian suddenly walked in front of Zhou Exen and looked at her. "Miss, you want to kill me with a borrowed knife." Zhou Exen smiled faintly. "Young Master Yi can go or not go. The choice is in young Master Ye's hands." Yi Xian smiled. "Miss, you're so bad." Zhou Exen suddenly said, "I'll accompany young Master Yi." Yi Xian was slightly stunned. "You're going?" Zhou Exen nodded. "I'll accompany you. I can also take a look at the Emperor's tomb." Yi Xian was silent. Xiaota suddenly said, "Young Master, it's better if you don't go." Yi Xian smiled. "Why?" Xiaota said in a deep voice, "This is a new place. Aren't you afraid of becoming a little brother?" Yi Xian was speechless. At this moment, the door to the room suddenly opened and a man walked in. Zhou Exen frowned slightly. Yi Xian looked at the man who walked in. The man sized up Zhou Exen and then looked at Yi Xian. "Yi Xian." Yi Xian smiled. "Yes." The man smiled. "Do you know who I am?" Yi Xian shook his head. The man's lips curled up. "My surname is Zhou." Yi Xian was slightly stunned. Then he turned to look at Zhou Exen. Zhou Exen looked at Yi Xian. "I'll handle it." Yi Xian nodded. "All right." Zhou Exen turned to look at the man. "Do you know who I am?" The man looked at Zhou Exen and smiled. "You're Yi Xian's woman?" Yi Xian suddenly said, "Brother, watch your words. I'm not a casual person. Really, I'm not casual. Zhou Xian looked at the man. Are you sure you don't know me? The man looked straight at Zhou Xian. But, are you threatening me? Zhou Xian frowned. What's your name? The man smiled. Zhou, have you heard of me? Zhou Xian's frown deepened. She had never heard of him. It was normal that she did not know this man. After all, the Zhou clan was too big. There were at least tens of thousands of disciples in the main clan alone. There were countless branches. However, it was not normal that Zhou Qi did not know her. Because she was the young clan leader of the Zhou clan and would soon be the clan leader. Zhou Xian was silent for a moment. Who is your father? Zhou Qi smiled. Woman, after we kill this Yixian, you will follow me. Zhou Xian suddenly placed her right hand on Zhou Qi's shoulder. The next moment she exerted force. Kacha. In an instant, Zhou Qi's entire body shattered into powder. Only his soul was left. Zhou Qi was dumbfounded. The next moment, Zhou Qi suddenly said ferociously, Bitch, how dare you hurt me? How dare you disrespect my Zhou clan? As he spoke, he suddenly opened his palm. A flame talisman suddenly shot into the sky. Call for help. Zhou Xian was silent for a moment. She sat down beside Yixian and remained silent. In the distance, Zhou Qi suddenly looked at Yixian and said resentfully, Yixian, your 10 clans will be annihilated. Yixian frowned. My God, is there something wrong with you? She was the one who hit you. Why are you looking for me? Zhou Qi said angrily, She is your woman. Yixian said seriously, She really is not. Zhou Qi stared at Yixian. Yixian, this metaverse belongs to my Zhou clan. If you dare to touch me, you will be touching the entire Zhou clan. Your 10 clans will be annihilated. Yixian shook his head. He was speechless. Was there really such a stupid person in the world? Back in the city of Qing, most of the aristocratic disciples who had competed with him were shrewd people, each more cunning than the last. Why were the people in this kind of place as dumb as idiots? At this moment, Zhou Xian said softly, Are the younger generation of the Zhou clan all like this? At this moment, there was a trace of worry in her eyes. Useless fools. She did not expect the younger generation of the Zhou clan to be like this. Had their lives been too easy these past few years? At this moment, Zhou Qi suddenly laughed loudly. Ah, Yixian, my people are here. My Zhou clan's experts are here. Just wait for your death. Looking at Zhou Qi, Yixian said, You remind me of someone. Zhou Qi frowned slightly. Who? Yixian said softly, Tianyi. It had to be said that Tianyi was really amazing. He had said that he could fight Qing, Tianyi. Chapter 2094. Meanwhile, an old man walked into the room. As soon as the old man entered, Zhou Qi immediately said, Uncle Nan, save me. As he spoke, he pointed furiously at Zhou Xian. That bitch dared to hit me and even threatened to destroy my Zhou clan. Zhou Xian's expression was calm, and he remained silent. Zhou Xian's eyes narrowed slightly when he heard Zhou Qi, and then a wisp of coldness flashed through his eyes. He turned around to look at Zhou Xian, and he was instantly stunned when he saw Zhou Xian. A moment later, he strode over to Zhou Xian, bowed respectfully, and spoke with a trembling voice, Young patriarch. The young patriarch. Both Yixian and Zhou Qi were stunned when they heard Zhou Qi. Yixian was stunned because he knew that Zhou Xian's status in the Zhou clan wasn't low, but he hadn't imagined that Zhou Xian would actually be the young patriarch. Zhou Qi's figure suddenly started trembling. Who was Zhou Xian? He was the most monstrous genius of the Zhou clan. Not only was he the young patriarch of the entire Zhou clan, he was about to become the patriarch of the Zhou clan. The reason he didn't know Zhou Xian was because Zhou Xian was merely the young master of a branch of the Zhou clan. Not to mention the core of the Zhou clan, someone like him couldn't even be considered as a member of the outer circle. Moreover, he didn't even have the qualifications to come into contact with an existence like Zhou Xian. Zhou Qi's legs felt weak, and he knelt down slowly and spoke with a trembling voice, Young patriarch. Zhou Exen gazed at the old man, chop off his limbs and hang him in Chaoyue City. Zhou Qi spoke with a trembling voice, young patriarch, please spare me. The old man hesitated for a moment and was about to beg for mercy. Meanwhile, Zhou Exen suddenly turned around, take them away, break their limbs, and then hang them in Chaoyue City until they die. Also, when she spoke up to this point, she gazed at Zhou Qi, who knelt on the ground and said, expel all of his branch members from the clan, and they're forbidden from using the clan's surname. As soon as she finished speaking, 2 black-robed old men suddenly appeared here, and they weren't even able to react before they were taken away. Zhou Exen turned around to gaze at Yi Xian, young Master Yi, I'm sorry for that. Yi Xian smiled, I never expected you to actually be the young patriarch of the Zhou clan. After a moment of silence, Zhou Exen said, young Master Yi, are you interested in visiting my Zhou clan? Yi Xian frowned slightly. Go to the Zhou clan? Zhou Exen nodded. I would like to invite you to the Zhou clan as a guest. Yi Xian looked at Zhou Exen. But Zhou Exen smiled faintly, I don't have any other motives. I just want to bring young Master Yi on a trip, and then let my Zhou clan's people see some of the super monsters outside. Of course, in return, I can find a life-profound realm expert for young Master Yi to spar with. If young Master Yi wants to go to the Emperor's tomb, I can accompany you. Life-profound realm. After a moment of silence, Yi Xian said, Miss, Zhou Exen suddenly said, you can call me Zhou Exen. Yi Xian smiled. Miss Zhou Exen, you want me to go to your Zhou clan purely to let your Zhou clan see the monsters and geniuses outside? Zhou Exen nodded. Not entirely. My Zhou clan and young Master Yi had a misunderstanding. This time, I also want to invite young Master Yi to my Zhou clan to apologize. Yi Xian thought about it and said, all right. Life-profound realm. From the looks of it, only the Zhou clan had life-profound realm experts. If he wanted to spar with a life-profound realm expert, he could only find the Zhou clan. Zhou Exen nodded. Young Master Yi, let's go. With that, she brought Yi Xian and disappeared. Chaoyue City. This was the main city of the Zhou clan, and it could be said to be the most prosperous city in the metaverse. Zhou Exen brought Yi Xian into the city. As if she thought of something, Zhou Exen suddenly said, pass down my order. Have all the young generation of the Zhou clan immediately come to the martial field. If they don't come in 15 minutes, I will break their legs. Behind Zhou Exen, an old man quietly retreated. Zhou Exen turned to look at Yi Xian. Young Master Yi, can you give some pointers to the young generation of the Zhou clan later? Yi Xian smiled. Are you serious? Zhou Exen nodded. Yi Xian blinked. You want to test me? Zhou Exen was also very frank. Yes. Yi Xian laughed. Then give some pointers. However, I'm afraid that it will hurt the geniuses of the Zhou clan. Zhou Exen immediately said, feel free to hurt them. Yi Xian said with a smile, you said it. Zhou Exen nodded. Soon, the 2 of them arrived at the martial field. When the 2 of them arrived, the entire martial field was already filled with thousands of people. All of them were the geniuses of the Zhou clan's young generation. When they saw Zhou Exen, everyone hurriedly bowed and said in unison, greetings, young clan head. Yi Xian glanced at Zhou Exen, and he was slightly surprised. Looks like Zhou Exen's prestige in the hearts of the younger generation of the Zhou clan is very high. Zhou Exen glanced at them and said, this is young Master Yi. Yi Lan died at his hands. Yi Xian. Everyone here gazed at Yi Xian with hostile expressions. Meanwhile, some of the older experts of the Zhou clan had appeared at the side. The person in the lead was the Zhou clan's patriarch, Zhou Qing. All of them were looking at Yi Xian, and Zhou Qing and the others frowned when they saw Yi Xian, because they noticed that Yi Xian's cultivation was truly too low. Meanwhile, a man from the Zhou clan walked over to Yi Xian, and he gazed at Yi Xian, young Master Yi, can you provide me with some guidance? Yi Xian gazed at Zhou Exen, and the latter nodded slightly. Yi Xian withdrew his gaze and smiled, sure. The man slowly clenched his right fist, and then an extremely terrifying force suddenly condensed within it. In the next moment, his right fist turned fiery red, and then he charged forward and smashed his fist at Yi Xian. It was pure strength. Wherever the punch passed, time and space were incinerated into nothingness. Meanwhile, Yi Xian suddenly flicked his thumb. The green profound sword slashed forward. Bang! An expanse of flames erupted, and then the man was blasted over 30 kilometers away. As soon as he stopped moving, his right arm had fallen off from his shoulder. He'd been defeated with a single strike of the sword. The surroundings were silent to the point a falling needle could be heard. Zhou Qing spoke solemnly, "Did you notice anything?" A black-clothed old man by his side spoke hoarsely, "Extraordinary sword." Zhou Qing asked, "Where is he?" The old man fell silent for a short moment before he said, "I can't tell for now." Zhou Qing nodded slightly, "Keep watching." Another man walked over to Yi Xian from afar. This time, the man was at the profound awareness realm. A true monstrous genius had appeared. The man gazed at Yi Xian, "Please provide me with your guidance." As he spoke, he took a step forward. With this step, the surrounding space actually became illusory. Time reversal. Yi Xian immediately sensed the energy of time reversal. However, it was different from his own time reversal. The man raised his right hand slowly, and then he swung it down. The space above Yi Xian was suddenly torn apart, and then a palm swept down. Yi Xian was just about to attack with his sword when he noticed that the energy of time reversal was interfering with him. Just like before, if he attacked, then he would forever be slower than the man. Yi Xian didn't hesitate to execute life rend. As soon as he swung his sword, the palm was instantly obliterated, and the man instantly transformed into a white-haired old man. The expressions of everyone here changed when they witnessed this scene. Zhou Exen turned to look at Yi Xian, and there was a trace of seriousness in his eyes for the first time. On the other side, Zhou Qing stared fixedly at Yi Xian. How could this be possible? The black-clothed old man by his side had a trace of disbelief in his eyes as well. He's actually able to forcefully draw the time-lapse energy from the daylight world into the outside world. Moreover, he's even able to avoid the backlash. As he spoke, his gaze descended onto the azure sword in Yi Xian's hand. It's this sword. This sword is actually able to withstand the time-lapse energy. It's truly unbelievable. Zhou Qing looked at the azure sword in Yi Xian's hand as well, and there was a trace of shock in his eyes. In the distance, the man before Yi Xian said with a trembling voice, "This." Yi Xian smiled. "Time reversal? That's not time reversal at all. Young man, you still need to cultivate." The man gazed at Yi Xian. "Why are you able to draw out the time-lapse energy from within the daylight world?" Yi Xian frowned slightly. "Is it very difficult?" The man's face froze. Yi Xian went on, "This should be a very simple thing. I only used less than a day to complete my cultivation all those years ago. Is it very difficult for all of you?" As he spoke, he even intentionally glanced at the geniuses of the Zhou clan. All of them were speechless. Meanwhile, the man suddenly gazed at the azure sword in Yi Xian's hand. "It's your sword." Yi Xian glanced at the azure sword in his hand, and then he said, "Are you slightly dissatisfied?" The man looked Yi Xian in the eyes. "Yes." Yi Xian smiled. "If you're disgruntled, then you can refine a divine artifact of your own. Because this sword was forged by me." The man frowned slightly. "You forged it yourself?" Yi Xian nodded. "Yes." The man glanced at Yi Xian with slight disbelief. Yi Xian smiled. "I forged it for my own use. Does it count as using external objects?" The man fell silent. Yi Xian roared with laughter. "Are there any other geniuses in the Zhou clan? If there aren't, then all of you can attack me together. I'll fight all of you by myself." Attack him together. The expressions of the geniuses of the Zhou clan became unsightly when they heard this. That was a blatant insult. Meanwhile, a woman suddenly walked over to Yi Xian, and she gazed at Yi Xian. "Can we fight without using our swords?" Yi Xian replied with a question. "Can you fight without using your hands?" The woman stared at Yi Xian. Yi Xian smiled. "Miss, what are you talking about? I'm a swordsman, and you're asking me to fight without using my swords." Don't you think that's rude? The woman spoke in a deep voice. Your sword is very powerful. You're bullying us with it. Even if we can't defeat you, we won't accept it. The geniuses of the Zhou clan nodded when they heard this. The woman suddenly said, Are you going to lose if you don't use this sword? Everyone looked at Yi Xian. How overbearing. Yi Xian smiled. I can choose not to use this sword, but we have to increase the wager. If the Zhou clan loses, you have to give me 500 star veins. If I lose, I'll also give you 500 star veins. 500 star veins. Everyone was shocked when they heard this. That wasn't a small number. The woman looked at Yi Xian. Do you have 500 star veins? Yi Xian waved the azure sword in his hand. Is this sword worth 500 star veins? The woman fell silent. At this moment, she didn't have any confidence. No one could see through Yi Xian. His cultivation was very low, but his strength was very strange. Meanwhile, Yi Xian suddenly said, Miss, if you don't dare, I can add another condition. You don't have to fight alone. All of you can come at me together. All the geniuses of the Zhou clan can come at me together. If I lose, I'll give this sword to all of you. But I have to say this first. Once I get serious, I won't be able to control myself. At that time, I'll bury all of you together. Don't take revenge on me. Everyone was speechless. Xiao Ta's voice suddenly resounded in Yi Xian's mind. Young master, are you sure you can fight a few thousand people? Yi Xian said in his heart, I can't. Xiao Ta was puzzled. Why are you saying that? Yi Xian said in his heart, let's show off first. Moreover, they won't be so shameless as to gang up on me. I can tell who's shameless and who's shameless. Xiao Ta was speechless. P.S. It's only midnight every day. I'm a bit embarrassed to ask for votes. Wait for me to work harder and save more manuscripts. Then everyone can vote. Thank you to all those who have voted and those who have tipped. Thank you for your support. Thank you again. Chapter 2095. The expressions of the geniuses and geniuses of the Zhou clan became extremely unsightly when they heard Yi Xian. Yi Xian was looking down on them. But it was exactly because of this that they felt fearful instead. Why did Yi Xian dare to act so arrogantly? Obviously, it was because of his strength. But could Yi Xian really defeat all the geniuses and geniuses of the Zhou clan? Meanwhile, the woman before Yi Xian suddenly said, I'll fight you. She had no choice but to fight. If the Zhou clan didn't accept Yi Xian's provocation, then it would be a huge humiliation to the Zhou clan. Of course, it was just as Yi Xian had guessed. The Zhou clan really wouldn't gang up on him. If they did, then they would become a laughingstock even if they won. Yi Xian gazed at the woman before him and smiled. Are all of you really not going to fight me together? The woman stared at Yi Xian. Please provide me with your guidance, young Master Yi. As soon as she finished speaking, she took a step forward. As soon as she did, the area of space where Yi Xian resided instantly became illusory. At the same time, the illusory space started to burn, and then strands of destructive energy surged towards Yi Xian with the intention of shattering him into pieces. It was pure strength. The profound awareness realm. The woman didn't utilize the energy of the passage of time because the man from before had failed. She'd chosen to utilize pure strength against Yi Xian. In the distance, Yi Xian slowly closed his eyes. The green profound sword in his hand had become an ordinary sword. After he closed his eyes, Yi Xian swiftly entered into a meditative state. At this moment, the sword in his hand started to tremble slightly. Moreover, his soul was highly concentrated at this moment. Meanwhile, Yi Xian lightly flicked his thumb. A sword howl shot into the sky. This time, Yi Xian didn't execute Fate Rend and Future Rend. An instant of life and death. This sword was a moment of life and death in a calm and focused state. At the instant the sword was drawn, an enormous hole was torn open in the space in front of Yi Xian. In the next moment, a figure retreated explosively for over 100 kilometers. It was that woman. As soon as the woman stopped, a flying sword pierced through her forehead. Perfect connection. The surroundings suddenly fell silent. Yi Xian looked at the woman who was pinned by his sword in the distance and smiled. Miss, do you know that the sword is extraordinary because of the person? A truly powerful swordsman, even if it's a piece of wood, is still a peerless divine sword. The woman stared at Yi Xian for a long time before she said, I've lost. Yi Xian opened his palm. 500 star veins. As he spoke, he turned to look at Zhou Exin. Zhou Exin spoke softly, I never expected that young Master Yi would actually be able to condense his soul into a single point. We underestimated young Master Yi's attainments in the Sword Dao. As she spoke, she tapped with her finger, and a spatial ring floated over to Yi Xian. There were exactly 500 star veins within the spatial ring. Yi Xian glanced at Zhou Exin, and he was quite shocked. The Zhou clan is really rich. They've produced 500 star veins just like that. Zhou Exin suddenly gazed at the geniuses of the Zhou clan. What do you think? Everyone fell silent. Zhou Exin continued, We've been living too comfortably in the past few years. Because it's been too comfortable, so many arrogantly think that our Zhou clan is number one under the heavens. From today onward, our Zhou clan will be reformed and reorganized. As she spoke, she turned to look at Zhou Qing. Father, I've formulated a reform and reorganization plan. You'll carry it out. Zhou Qing hesitated for a moment before he nodded. All right. Zhou Exin turned to look at Yi Xian. Young Master Yi, let's go. Yi Xian nodded. Zhou Exin brought Yi Xian to an unknown spacetime. She looked at Yi Xian. Young Master Yi wants to fight against a life-profound realm cultivator? Yi Xian nodded. Zhou Exin nodded slightly. Then young Master Yi can make your move. Yi Xian looked at Zhou Exin. A moment later, he smiled. I never thought that you'd really be a life-profound realm cultivator. Zhou Exin chuckled. So young Master Yi has already guessed it. Yi Xian smiled. Miss Zhou Exin, I'll only use 2 strikes. Zhou Exin nodded. Come. The sword in Yi Xian's hand suddenly turned into the profound azure sword. In the next moment, he pointed with his thumb, and the sword flew out from the sheath. 1 strike to kill. With this strike, the river of stars in the field disappeared at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the distance, Zhou Exin stood motionlessly, allowing the endless power of dissipation to engulf her. A moment later, the starry sky had turned into a deathly silent starry sky, but Zhou Exin was completely fine. Yi Xian looked at Zhou Exin and frowned. Why? Zhou Exin said, Life profound body. Yi Xian was slightly puzzled. Life profound body? Zhou Exin nodded. It's a special type of physique, also known as a Dharma physique. It's impervious to all techniques, including the power of dissipation in the daytime. We can survive in the daytime. Yi Xian fell silent. Life profound body. This surprised him. At this moment, Zhou Exin said, Make your second strike. Yi Xian lightly pushed with his thumb, and the profound azure sword trembled slightly, but nothing happened. Zhou Exin frowned slightly, and in the next moment, she seemed to sense something. Her pupils suddenly constricted, and her right hand suddenly moved to block. With this block, a stream of blood sprayed out, and her right hand was directly sent flying. However, she had already retreated tens of thousands of meters away, and she was extremely far away from Yi Xian. Seeing this scene, Yi Xian was silent, and no one knew what he was thinking. In the distance, Zhou Exin looked at Yi Xian, and for the first time, there was a trace of seriousness in her eyes. The future. Yi Xian nodded. Zhou Exin was silent for a long time, and then said, Amazing. Yi Xian shook his head. It doesn't seem to work against you. Zhou Exin shook her head. You're wrong. The reason I was able to dodge it was because I was on guard. When I was fully on guard, I was able to sense the danger that was about to arrive. So, I was able to rely on my instinct to defend myself against your attack, but if I wasn't on guard, then I might not have been able to defend myself against this attack of yours. Yi Xian said in a low voice, So you're saying that my strike can threaten the life-profound realm? Zhou Exin nodded. Yes. Yi Xian smiled. As long as you can. Miss Zhou Exin, will you make a move? Zhou Exin shook her head. No. Yi Xian didn't understand. Why? Zhou Exen looked at Yi Xian. Because I will kill you. Yi Xian. Zhou Exen appeared in front of Yi Xian and looked at Yi Xian. You only have one chance to attack when facing a life-profound realm expert, and you must attack first. Otherwise, once the life-profound realm expert attacks, you won't have the chance to attack. Because you don't have a life-profound body, it is too easy for a life-profound realm expert to kill you. Yi Xian frowned. Very easy? Zhou Exen nodded. Yi Xian was silent. Zhou Exen smiled. You don't believe me? Yi Xian smiled. I believe you. You have no reason to lie to me. Zhou Exen nodded. To the Emperor Tomb? Yi Xian smiled. Yes. The two got up and headed to the Emperor Tomb. On the way, Yi Xian suddenly asked, Miss Zhou Exen, how do I cultivate this life-profound body? Zhou Exen said, For others, it is almost impossible, but for you, it should be very easy. Yi Xian didn't understand. Why? Zhou Exen said, To cultivate the life-profound body, there are two basic requirements. First, there are enough resources, at least 1,000 star veins. Second, there is a need to fuse with a special spacetime. I have observed your sword before. Your sword seems to have a restraining effect on spacetime. Yi Xian said with a smile, Indeed. As he spoke, he looked at Zhou Exen. Miss Zhou Exen, can you teach me? Zhou Exen asked. The person behind you is very strong. Is she not willing to teach you? Yi Xian shook his head. She is a bit far away from me. I can't contact her. Zhou Exen was silent for a moment and said, Sure. As she spoke, she pointed with her finger, and a white light directly entered between Yi Xian's eyebrows. Boom. Yi Xian's body trembled slightly, and a lot of information surged into his mind. The cultivation method of the life-profound body. Yi Xian looked at Zhou Exen. Miss Zhou Exen, you are giving it to me so easily? Zhou Exen said, You are in the same circle as us. Yi Xian was slightly stunned, and then he said, What do you mean? Zhou Exen glanced at Yi Xian. It is like borrowing money. A person with strength can easily find someone in the same circle to borrow money from, and he is also willing to lend money to someone in the same circle as him. Because both sides know that the other party can afford it. On the contrary, if a slightly weaker person were to borrow money from a rich person, he would most likely not be able to borrow money, because in the other party's eyes, it is like a tiger borrowing a pig, there is no return. Yi Xian, Zhou Exen continued, This cultivation method is very precious to others, but it is not precious to you, because even if I don't give it to you, you will definitely be able to obtain it in the future. Since that is the case, why don't I give it to you, sell you a favor? Yi Xian said with a smile, Is this the so-called circle culture? Zhou Exen nodded. If you are not strong enough, you cannot play in the same circle. Yi Xian was silent. At this time, Xiaota suddenly said, Young master, I know why master does not bring you along. Because you are not strong enough, you are not in the same circle as master. Yi Xian's face was full of black lines. If you do not know how to speak, then don't speak. Xiaota. At this time, Yi Xian suddenly stopped. He directly called out his lover. Yi Xian looked at his lover in front of him, and said with a smile, Miss Lover, it is time for us to part. Lover looked at Yi Xian. How about, I follow you? Yi Xian, Lover continued, I do not want to follow you because of your Xiaota, mainly because I think you are a good person, I want to be friends with you. Yi Xian shook his head and smiled. Miss Lover, your goal now should be life profound, right? Lover nodded. Yi Xian hesitated, then said, Miss Lover, it is indeed time for us to part. Strictly speaking, Lover and him, they are not even friends. He has no obligation to let her continue to cultivate in Xiaota. At this moment, Lover is already Yi Xian, of course. This is because she is cultivating in Xiaota. Moreover, she has used nearly a dozen of his star veins. Lover was silent for a long time, then said, Take care. After saying that, she turned around and left. At this time, Yi Xian suddenly bent his finger, and a white light entered Lover's eyebrows. It is the cultivation method of life-profound body. Lover was slightly stunned, then said, You? Yi Xian smiled. You solved the spiritual energy problem yourself. Lover was silent for a long time, then said, "Thank you." After saying that, she turned around and disappeared at the end of the starry sky. Yi Xian turned to look at Zhou Exin. "Miss Zhou Exin, let's go." Zhou Exin nodded. Lover disappeared into the distance. On the way, Yi Xian suddenly became curious. "Miss Zhou Exin, the Xianxia kingdom was destroyed by that swordsman." Zhou Exin said, "Although he did not directly destroy it, it has a lot to do with him, because he killed a group of the top experts of Xianxia." "Brother." Yi Xian looked into the distance, a little curious. Brother usually only sparred, he does not kill. Could it be that Xianxia kingdom made brother famous? Chapter 2096. Emperor Tomb. Not long after, Yi Xian and Zhou Exin arrived at the Emperor Tomb. The Emperor's tomb was located in a mountain range. As soon as the two of them arrived at the mountain range, Yi Xian felt a mysterious force. Beside Yi Xian, Zhou Exin whispered, "The aura of an emperor." Who would have thought that the aura of an emperor would still be so thick after so many years? Yi Xian looked at Zhou Exin. "Has your Zhou clan never gone in?" Zhou Exin shook her head. "We can't." Yi Xian was puzzled. "Why?" Zhou Exin said after a moment of silence, "First, the god execution formation left behind by the Emperor of Xianxia is extremely powerful. Even a life-profound realm expert would find it hard to break it. Second, there is still the sword qi left behind by that swordsman. My Zhou clan has slowly devoured the formation, but the sword qi left behind." At this point, her expression suddenly turned grave. "Back then, my Zhou clan also wanted to destroy these sword auras. However, we did not succeed in the end. Not only did we fail, we even lost a life-profound stage expert." Yi Xian said in a low voice, "You want me to deal with the sword qi?" Zhou Exin nodded. Yi Xian nodded. "Then let's go in." Zhou Exin looked at Yi Xian. "Do you really know that swordsman? If you don't, it's not too late to leave. Otherwise, we won't be able to survive." Yi Xian said with a smile, "Let's go." As he spoke, he walked into the distance. Zhou Exin followed after a moment of silence. Not long after, Yi Xian saw a group of stone statues scattered in the distance. Apart from them, there were also a few statues of armored men. Yi Xian suddenly asked, "Miss Zhou Exin, was the Xianxia kingdom very strong back then?" Zhou Exin nodded. "Very strong." Yi Xian asked again, "Is there anyone stronger than life-profound realm?" Zhou Exin shook her head. "I don't know." Yi Xian frowned. "You don't know?" Zhou Exin nodded. "We don't know much about the Xianxia kingdom either." Yi Xian was about to speak when Zhou Exin suddenly pointed into the distance. "Look over there." Yi Xian looked into the distance. Not far from them was a plain. On the plain, there were dozens of tombs. Among them, there was a very large tomb. It was pure gold in color and looked very luxurious. Zhou Exin looked at the golden tomb and said softly, "That should be the tomb of the last emperor of Xianxia kingdom, Di Ming." Yi Xian looked around and frowned. A sense of unease rose in his heart. Zhou Exin suddenly said, "There's a situation." Yi Xian looked at Zhou Exin. Zhou Exin stared at the golden tomb. "There's someone inside. Alive." Someone was there. Yi Xian was about to speak when a strand of sword qi suddenly drifted down from the sky like a feather. Zhou Exin's expression changed drastically. It was the swordsman's sword qi. Meanwhile, Yi Xian opened his palm, and the sword qi floated slowly into his hand. The sword qi has a spirit. Not to mention the sword qi of the three swords, even his own sword qi had a spirit of its own. Yi Xian looked at the sword qi in his hand and smiled. "Where's Big Brother?" The sword qi trembled slightly as if it was responding to him. Yi Xian fell silent. The sword qi meant that Big Brother was very, very far away. After a short while, Yi Xian collected his thoughts and looked at the sword qi in his hand. He smiled. "Come with me." The sword qi trembled slightly and seemed very happy. Yi Xian kept the sword qi. Meanwhile, the group of golden tombs in the distance suddenly trembled slightly. Zhou Exin, who stood by Yi Xian's side, said solemnly, "Watch out." Yi Xian looked at the golden tomb. At this moment, the golden tomb suddenly split open and a middle-aged man in a dragon robe slowly floated out. Zhou Exin whispered, "Di Ming." Yi Xian looked at Di Ming and was on his guard. Di Ming suddenly opened his eyes and looked at Yi Xian. "Who are you to the swordsman?" Yi Xian said, "He's my sworn brother." Zhou Exin turned to look at him. "Big brother? Sworn brothers?" Yi Xian nodded. Zhou Exin had a strange expression on his face. In the distance, Di Ming stared at Yi Xian. "He's so strong but you're so weak. How could he be your sworn brother?" Yi Xian was silent. Could this digger speak? No wonder he was beaten up so badly by Big Brother. To survive in this world, it was very important to speak and conduct oneself. Di Ming suddenly asked, "Where is he now?" Yi Xian looked at Di Ming. "What's wrong?" Di Ming suddenly smiled. "What's wrong?" Yi Xian said, "You want revenge?" Di Ming flicked his sleeves and smiled. "Can't I?" Yi Xian was silent for a moment. "Who gave you the courage?" Di Ming chuckled. "But, do you think your big brother is strong?" Yi Xian frowned. If he wasn't, would the Xianxia kingdom still be like this? Di Ming paused and then smiled. "What do you think is wrong with the Xianxia kingdom?" Yi Xian frowned. Zhou Exin suddenly said, "Something's wrong." As soon as she finished speaking, the tombs in the distance began to tremble. In the next moment, the tombs split open and experts walked out. When these people walked out, Yi Xian and Zhou Exin's expressions changed. All of them were Life Profound Realm experts. There were a total of 49 Life Profound Realm experts. So many Life Profound Realm experts? Not only Yi Xian, but even Zhou Exin's expression changed. Di Ming looked at Yi Xian and smiled. "What a joke! You still think that the Xianxia kingdom was destroyed by swordsmen? Who gave you the courage to think so?" Yi Xian looked at Di Ming and said nothing. Zhou Exin suddenly said, "Sir, if it wasn't because of swordsmen, then why did the Xianxia kingdom?" Speaking of this, her pupils suddenly shrank. Was the Xianxia kingdom destroyed? Not only was it not destroyed, but it became even stronger. According to the ancient records, the Xianxia kingdom did not have so many Life Profound Realm experts. But now, the Xianxia kingdom had 49 Life Profound Realm experts. Including Di Ming, there were a total of 50 Life Profound Realm experts. Needless to say, this lineup was extremely terrifying. Di Ming suddenly said, "You seem to be confused." Zhou Exin nodded. "Yes, we are. As far as we know, the Xianxia kingdom did not have so many Life Profound Realm experts." Di Ming smiled. "Yes, we did not." As he spoke, he glanced at the people behind him and smiled. "We have given up on the majority of our countrymen and gathered our resources together. Then, we will provide them to the most outstanding people in Xianxia. Do you understand?" Zhou Exin frowned. "Abandoned most of the people?" Di Ming nodded. "Yes." Zhou Exin was silent. He was shocked. What did abandoning most of the people mean? It meant that Di Ming and his people plundered all the resources, abandoned the people of the Xianxia kingdom, and concentrated all the resources on the most talented people of the Xianxia kingdom. What was the result? After all these years, all the ordinary cultivators of the Xianxia kingdom died, while the people behind Di Ming advanced and reached the Life Profound Realm. Ruthless. Zhou Exin looked at Di Ming and his people and said nothing. At that moment, Yi Xian suddenly asked, "What's going on between you and my big brother?" Di Ming looked at Yi Xian and smiled. "When he came to the Xianxia kingdom, he wanted to challenge me. But I was in seclusion at that time, so I asked him to wait for me. But he seemed to have something else to do, so he left me a wisp of sword chi and left. Then he told me that if I came out of seclusion and destroyed his sword chi, he would show up. Today, just as I came out of seclusion and was about to destroy his sword chi, you came." Yi Xian was speechless. "Damn. What a coincidence." Di Ming looked at Yi Xian and smiled. "Since you said you are his sworn brother, I will fight with you first. It makes no difference whether I fight with him or you." Yi Xian was speechless. "Damn, the difference is too big." Di Ming was about to attack when Yi Xian suddenly said, Didn't he leave you a wisp of sword chi? You can fight with his sword chi first. Then he opened his palm and his brother's sword chi appeared in his hand. Di Ming looked at Yi Xian. You want me to fight with a wisp of sword chi? Yi Xian nodded. Di Ming narrowed his eyes. Are you insulting me? Yi Xian was speechless. Di Ming said again, or do you think you are not as good as a wisp of sword chi? Yi Xian was speechless. Damn it. Big brother, why didn't you do things more thoroughly? You should have beaten this guy into submission back then. At this time, Di Ming smiled and said, let's spar. Yi Xian thought for a while and said, you are my brother's opponent. If I fight with you, I am afraid he will be unhappy. You, Di Ming frowned. Why are you talking so much? Since you are his sworn brother, what difference does it make if I fight with him or you? Yi Xian's face was as black as a sheet. Small Tower suddenly sighed in a low voice. This difference is really big. Yi Xian was speechless. At this moment, Di Ming suddenly opened his right hand. In an instant, the space-time in front of Yi Xian suddenly overlapped. At least hundreds of thousands of space-time overlapped. In an instant, Yi Xian felt a terrifying space-time pressure. Zhou Xian's eyes narrowed slightly with an additional hint of seriousness. His opponent was an expert above the life mystic realm. Suddenly, the green profound sword in Yi Xian's hand flew out. Swoosh! As soon as the green profound sword appeared, the overlapping space-time was destroyed. Di Ming was slightly stunned by this scene, and then he smiled. You're not that weak after all. Yi Xian smiled. Do you really want to fight with me? Di Ming nodded. Of course. You can call your brother here. Yi Xian thought for a while and said, then I will call my brother here. Di Ming was speechless. Yi Xian opened his palm, and the sword chi of his brother floated to Di Ming. It's easy to find him. Just sense the sword chi. I believe you can sense him. Di Ming looked at the sword chi in front of him. After a moment of silence, he looked at Yi Xian. Forget it. It's too troublesome. I will fight with you. Go ahead. Yi Xian was speechless. Xiaoda suddenly said, young master, what should we do? Yi Xian thought for a while and then walked to Di Ming. He handed the green profound sword to Di Ming. I will give you another opponent. Hold this sword and sense it. Someone will find you. Di Ming looked at the green profound sword and then at Yi Xian. I will not. Yi Xian was speechless. Xiaoda suddenly said, oh no. This guy doesn't play by the rules. P.S. I'm going out too. Come back and write more. A wave in a wave, a wave in a wave, I'm a wave, a wave. Chapter 2097. Yi Xian suddenly came to an understanding when he heard Di Ming. They didn't want to spar with Big Brother at all, and their target was actually Yi Xian. Yi Xian sheathed his sword and smiled. I don't quite understand. This should be the first time we've met, so why are they targeting me? He waved the sword in his hand. Is it because of this sword? Di Ming smiled. Just one of the reasons. Yi Xian frowned slightly. What else? Di Ming gazed at Yi Xian. And that strand of sword energy you just withdrew. Big Brother's sword energy. Yi Xian was slightly stunned, and then he smiled. So that's why. As he spoke, he turned to look at Zhou Exin. Miss Zhou Exin, I'm their target. You should leave first. Zhou Exin thought for a moment and shook her head. That strand of sword energy isn't enough to kill him because he won't resist it on his own. Yi Xian smiled. I know. Since he dares to target me, then he's definitely confident in his ability to deal with my big brother's sword energy. Miss Zhou Exin, you should leave. Zhou Exin fell silent for a moment, and then she walked slowly over to Yi Xian and looked Yi Xian in the eyes. Are we friends? Yi Xian hesitated for a moment and said, no, I don't think so. Zhou Exin turned around and left without any hesitation. Yi Xian hurriedly said, yes. In my heart, Miss Zhou Exin has been a friend for a long time. Zhou Exin stopped and turned to look at Yi Xian. You perform first, and I'll take you away if you're no match for them. Yi Xian spoke in a low voice. Miss Zhou Exin, you have to think this through. They have 49 life realm experts. Zhou Exin thought for a moment and said, then you fight first, and I'll decide based on the situation. Yi Xian's face darkened when he heard that. Is that even possible? Meanwhile, Di Ming spoke abruptly, let's not waste any more time. All right? Yi Xian smiled, all right. As soon as he finished speaking, his palm suddenly opened up, and a strand of sword qi suddenly slashed out. It was Big Brother's sword qi. As soon as the sword energy appeared, the expressions of Di Ming and the others changed drastically. They were already the strongest experts in this world. Logically speaking, there shouldn't be anything that could make them feel threatened. However, along with the appearance of this strand of sword qi, the expressions of all the profound life stage experts changed drastically. That included Di Ming. At this moment, his expression was extremely solemn. As soon as Yi Xian released the sword qi, Di Ming suddenly opened his right hand, and a little wooden man appeared in his hand. The next moment, the little wooden man transformed into a warrior over 100 feet tall, clad in black armor. The armored warrior held a giant blade in his hand. The armored warrior suddenly took a step forward. When this step landed, the heavens and earth shattered. The entire emperor's tomb began to crumble. At this time, the armored warrior held his sword with both hands and slashed down. The heavens and the earth split apart as soon as this attack descended. In an instant, the space in an area of a few million kilometers had been transformed into a huge net. Yi Xian's expression became extremely solemn when he witnessed this scene. Damn it! What's that? Why does it feel even stronger than a profound life realm expert? Even Yi Xian felt like his big brother's sword qi would probably be slashed into pieces when that attack descended. However, the blade had just come into contact with the sword qi when it instantly split apart, and then the sword qi pierced through the giant's chest. Bang! The giant's figure shook violently, and then it transformed into countless pieces that exploded apart. It was gone, but that strand of sword qi was still there. It shot straight towards Di Ming in the distance. Di Ming's eyes narrowed slightly. Formation? Formation? He'd just finished speaking when a dragon throne suddenly appeared in front of him, and then an enormous golden dragon swept out from within it. The golden dragon roared as it collided with the sword qi. When it approached the strand of sword qi, the enormous golden dragon directly opened its enormous mouth and swallowed the strand of sword qi. A moment later, bang! The enormous golden dragon shook violently, and then it let out a sorrowful wail before it shattered into countless pieces. The sword qi shot forward and arrived in front of Di Ming. Di Ming pressed his fingers together and pointed at the sword qi. Bang! Di Ming's body trembled, and then he vanished at a speed that was visible to the naked eye. However, the sword qi vanished along with him. After all, it was just a strand of sword qi that he'd left behind casually, and it was a consumable. If he'd left a strand of sword qi behind on purpose, it would definitely not have vanished. Di Ming's body became more and more illusory, but his expression was extremely calm. Yi Xian looked at Di Ming with a slight frown, and he felt that something was off. It didn't take long for Di Ming to vanish completely. Suddenly, a voice came from the side. I never expected that the sword qi he left behind would be so strong. How surprising! Yi Xian turned his head to look. Not far away, a man was walking towards him slowly. It was Di Ming. Yi Xian's eyes narrowed slightly. A clone. Di Ming nodded slightly. That was my clone. A clone. Di Ming looked at Yi Xian. Your only trump card is gone. Just then, Yi Xian suddenly opened his palm, and another strand of sword qi appeared in his palm. It was the green-robed man's sword qi. Di Ming's expression froze when he saw this strand of sword qi. Yi Xian looked at Di Ming and smiled. I still have more. The one just now was my big brother's, and this one is my father's. Di Ming looked at Yi Xian, and his face darkened. Damn it! Had he run into a rich second generation? Yi Xian looked at Di Ming. Is this also a clone? Di Ming was silent. He'd sacrificed too much to use up the swordsman's sword qi. Both the giant and the throne were the most precious treasures of the Shangqiu kingdom. Especially that avatar of his, he had cultivated for nearly 10 million years before he could cultivate it. However, It was all destroyed by that strand of sword qi. And now Yi Xian still had a strand of sword qi in his hand. Di Ming's face darkened. Yi Xian smiled. Do you still want to fight? Di Ming looked at Yi Xian. No. Yi Xian smiled. Then I'm leaving. Di Ming nodded. All right. Yi Xian turned to Zhou Exin. Let's go. Zhou Exin nodded. The two turned and left. Di Ming suddenly said, Kid, do you want to work with me? Yi Xian turned to Di Ming. Work with you? Di Ming nodded. I know of an ancient secret land, and there's a divine item called the Book of the Universe. Are you interested? Yi Xian frowned. The Book of the Universe? At this moment, Zhou Exin suddenly said in a deep voice, Book of the Universe. Yi Xian turned to Zhou Exin. What's that? Zhou Exin was silent for a moment, then said, The Book of Origin of Martial Arts in our Metaverse, a legendary existence. Then she looked at Di Ming. You're already above the life mystic realm. Why do you care about the Book of the Universe? Di Ming shook his head. It's not that I'm not above the life mystic realm, I've just reached the limit of the life mystic realm. If I want to go further, I have to find the Book of the Universe. Yi Xian suddenly said, Why are you so obsessed with the realm? Di Ming and Zhou Exin looked at Yi Xian, and Yi Xian said seriously, Don't you know that having no realm is the highest realm? Di Ming stared at Yi Xian. What are you trying to say? Yi Xian said seriously, The real experts have no realm. Look at me, I have no realm. Di Ming frowned. Are you strong? Yi Xian, Di Ming added, and it's not that you have no realm, it's just that your realm is too low. At such a young age you don't learn the right things. You only know how to bluff people. You would have died 100 times if you didn't have someone to back you up. Yi Xian said calmly, You and I are not from the same generation. Do you dare to lower your realm to fight me? Di Ming asked, My strength came from my own cultivation. Why should I lower my realm to fight you? Why should I lower my realm to fight you? Then he looked at Yi Xian and said, I'll say it again. Without your father and brother, you are nothing. Then he pointed at Zhou Exin, and her, why is she with you? Why does she want to go through thick and thin with you? Do you think she likes you? No, she likes the person behind you. She wants to build a good relationship with you. But you think she likes you? If you don't have someone to back you up, she won't even look you in the eye. Zhou Exin suddenly said, You're wrong. Di Ming looked at Zhou Exin. What? You want to be hypocritical too? Zhou Exin shook his head. I feel that what you said is wrong. Firstly, have you been relying on your own cultivation up till now? If I'm not wrong, you were born into the royal family and had access to countless resources in the Shangqiu kingdom, right? Di Ming looked at Zhou Exin and said nothing. Zhou Exin continued, Me too. I'm talented. But if I wasn't born into the Zhou clan, I wouldn't be where I am today. You and I are both protected by our ancestors. What right do you have to say that he relies on his father and brother? Then she shook her head and said, And one more thing, you and he are not from the same generation. If you were his age, I believe you wouldn't be as strong as he is. You are an old monster who has lived for countless years. Comparing yourself to a young man is unfair. Not only is it unfair, but it's also shameful. Anyone with a shameful heart would not do such a thing. Di Ming narrowed his eyes and looked unfriendly. Zhou Exin ignored Di Ming and said, If you're really strong, if you really have the guts, you could go to his brother or his father. But you don't dare. You can't even block a strand of sword qi left by his brother. That means you are not at the same level as his brother and his father. That's why you want to work with him. Because you don't dare to force yourself on him. But you're not satisfied either. Because you think that if he didn't have his brother and father, you could kill him with one slap. Unfortunately, he has it. Then she looked at Yi Xian. You have an invincible sister, right? Yi Xian nodded honestly, but I've never relied on them. I've relied on my own hard work to get where I am today. Zhou Exin walked to Yi Xian and said softly, If you keep acting like this, I won't be able to cover up for you. I've never said anything that goes against my heart in my life. Don't make things difficult for me, okay? Yi Xian was speechless. Chapter 2098. Di Ming stared at Yixian and Zhou Exan with a gloomy face. He was not happy with Yixian, but after witnessing the power of the sword qi, he did not dare to attack Yixian again. A single sword qi was already so powerful. How powerful would the real sword qi be? It was not something that Di Ming could fight against. At this moment, Yixian suddenly said, "Miss Exa, let's go." Miss Exa. Because of what had just happened, the two of them had become closer. Zhou Exan only threw Yixian a glance and did not say anything about the way he addressed him. They left. Di Ming suddenly asked, "Don't you want the Book of the Universe?" Yixian turned to Di Ming and said, "Swordsman, swordsman, a sword is enough. Why would I want the Book of the Universe? All external objects are obstacles to me." "You don't want anything?" Di Ming stared at Yixian. "Then why do you use the sword in your hand?" Yixian looked at the green profound sword in his hand and smiled. "Do you think I use it because it is a legendary sword? No, I use it because I, Qing, made it. I don't care about its special power, I care about Qing Er's friendship with me." As he spoke, he turned to look at Zhou Exan. "Do you believe what I said?" Zhou Exan blinked. "Do I? One question, two answers." Yixian nodded. "Yes, I do." Zhou Exan nodded. "I believe you. You are a genius, a swordsman, and you come from a prestigious family. Why would you lie?" Yixian approached Zhou Exan and asked softly, "Are you lying?" Zhou Exan blinked. His eyes were big and bright. "It's okay. I think I am getting used to it." Yixian was speechless. Inside Yixian's body, shout aside. Young master finally met someone who was willing to act cool with him. Di Ming suddenly said, "Young man, I hope you don't act on impulse. If you don't know how precious the Book of the Universe is, you can ask the lady beside you." Yixian turned to Di Ming and asked, "Who created the Book of the Universe?" Di Ming frowned. "Why do you ask?" Yixian smiled and said, "Can the person who created the Book of the Universe take a blow from my big brother?" Di Ming narrowed his eyes and said nothing. Yixian didn't say anything else. He turned around and left with Zhou Exan. Di Ming didn't say anything else. At this moment, an old man appeared next to Di Ming. The old man looked at Yixian and Di Ming as they left and said in a low voice, "We can enter that universe without him." Di Ming shook his head. "The price is too high." Then he looked at Yixian and said softly, "The sword in his hand can restrain space-time. With that sword, we can enter without sacrificing anyone." The old man said in a deep voice, "This young man is like an immortal. I've interacted with him a lot. I'm afraid you'll die of anger." Di Ming said after a moment of silence, "He will compromise. The Book of the Universe." He had sacrificed the people of Xianxia because they had found the Book of the Universe. However, Xianxia was not strong enough to enter the universe at that time. In the end, they had decided to sacrifice the people of Xianxia and focus all their resources on them. They had used all their strength to improve these 49 people. And their goal was in spacetime. When he woke up just now, he was surprised to find that the sword in Yixian's hand could restrain spacetime. Could this sword break through the power of spacetime in the universe? In his opinion, there was a good chance that it could, because the person behind Yixian was very strong. On the other side, Yixian and Zhou Exan returned to the Zhou clan. Once there, Yixian went into seclusion. Yixian sat on the ground with his eyes closed. He sat like this for a few days. Over the past few days, he didn't cultivate. He just sat there. Xiaoda could not help but ask, "Young master, are you upset?" Yixian shook his head. Xiaoda hesitated and said, "Young master, don't worry about what Di Ming said. We can go back to the 5th dimension or the Green City to gain some confidence." Yixian was speechless. Xiaoda said, "It's normal that you can't handle it." Yixian said in a low voice, "Lil Tower, I think Di Ming is right about one thing. To be honest, without Dad and Qing, I am nothing." As he spoke, he laughed bitterly. "All along the way, I've always said that I don't want to rely too much on Qing or and Father. However, the truth is that it's Qing or and Father that help me deal with my problems most of the time." Lil Pagoda said, "There are also some good karma. Those good karma are actually Master and Big Sister Tianming. For example, Big Sister Zhou Exin. The reason why she is helping Young Master is probably because she likes the people behind Young Master, and not because of Young Master yourself. Yi Xian nodded. That should be it. Xiaota said, be confident and remove those should. Yi Xian, Xiaota continued, there is another problem. Young Master, your current strength is built on the green profound sword. Without it, your strength will decrease by at least half. There is also me. Without me, you would be able to cultivate normally. When it spoke up to here, the tiny pagoda hesitated for a moment before it said, Young Master, I suddenly noticed that you're really useless without the help of Master and Big Sister Tianming. Yi Xian, Xiaota suddenly said, not completely. After all, Young Master, you are quite thick-skinned. Yi Xian shook his head and smiled. He was not angry, because what Xiaota said was true. Yi Xian looked at the green profound sword in his hand. Without the green profound sword, he would not be able to use life slash and future slash. If he could not use life slash and future slash, he would be as weak as an ant in front of a life profound realm expert. Without Xiaota, even with the green profound sword, he would not be able to cultivate so fast. Yi Xian suddenly laughed at himself. I am a swordsman. I created life slash and future slash, but without the green profound sword, I cannot use these two sword skills. How ironic is this? Is the sword strong? Is the person strong? Obviously, it is the sword strong. Because if the green profound sword was given to Zhou Exin, she could also do it easily. Xiaota suddenly said, Young Master, don't think too much. They are all old monsters who have cultivated for countless years. You can't compare to them, it is also. Yi Xian shook his head. All these years, I have been using this excuse to comfort myself. Then, I can rely on my Qing and my dad without any qualms. Xiaota said in a deep voice, Young Master, your way of thinking is not wrong. However, there is one thing that you have not considered. I feel that if you do not understand this problem, you will always be a little brother. Yi Xian was curious. What problem? Xiaota said, in the previous universe, which is the 6 realms, are you an invincible existence there? Yi Xian nodded his head. Xiaota said, but after you come to this universe, you become a little brother. Just like a child, he studies very well in the village and is the number 1. However, when he leaves the village and goes to the town, he might not be the number 1, but the top 10. When he leaves the town and goes to the city, he might not even be in the top 10. When he leaves the city and goes to the most prosperous city in the country, he might not even be an ordinary person. In the whole world, he might not even be an ordinary person. Yi Xian was silent. Xiaota said, what is the biggest problem now? It is that you will never know what the combat strength of the next universe belongs to. And this *T realm, this realm has collapsed. You will always be a little brother if you struggle within this rule. Because if you're invincible in this universe, the moment you reach the next universe, you'll realize that the previous realms have all been overturned, and there's a new realm or something. Then, in front of this new realm, you'll become the younger brother of the younger brother. Yi Xian said in a deep voice, why would such a situation happen? Small Tower continued to say, I've studied it for so long, and I feel that there are only 2 possibilities for this kind of situation to occur. The first is that your pace is too fast, and before you have completely stabilized, you have continued to advance to the next universe. This is like studying in the Milky Way galaxy. Before you have finished your first year, we have gone straight to the 3rd year. This kind of leap will cause our current situation. As long as we change worlds, we will become little brothers. Yi Xian said, what about the other possibility? Xiaota was silent for a moment, then said, the other possibility is that the person who created the realms and universes is messing around. He might not even know how many realms and universes he has created, Yi Xian. Xiaota said, of course, no matter what the problem is, the biggest problem is still you. You have indeed worked very hard, but you lack the sense of crisis that Master has. The biggest difference between you and Master is that if he doesn't work hard, he will really die. But you are different. If you don't work hard, you can choose to rely on your sister. Moreover, with Sister Qing around, you will never really be in a desperate situation. So, deep in your heart, you will have nothing to fear. At this point it paused, then said, Sister Tianming has almost spoiled you rotten. After a long silence, Yi Xian smiled and said, I understand. As he spoke, he looked at the green profound sword in his hand and said softly, I once fused with Little Soul. She is me and I am her. She can bear the power of the passage of time in the daytime, and there's also the power of time reversal in yours, Little Tower. If that's the case, why can't I? Xiaota said in a deep voice, Young master, don't be reckless. Little Soul has been modified by Sister Tianming, but you haven't. Yi Xian said with a smile, Let's try. After saying that, he left Xiaota and went outside. He directly entered the daytime spacetime. This time, he didn't use the Qingxian sword. As soon as he entered the daytime spacetime, his whole body aged at a speed visible to the naked eye. Yi Xian slowly closed his eyes and opened his palms. In the next moment, a mysterious power suddenly appeared around him. The power of time reversal in Xiaota's body. One in reverse, one in reverse. This time, he didn't choose to use the Qingxian sword. He let the two completely different powers wreak havoc in his body. Different from before, he didn't simply use the two powers. Instead, he carefully felt the two powers and experienced them personally. Then, he found a balance between the two powers. In the past, he used the two powers, but this time, he wanted to control the two powers. And this time, he didn't use the Qingxian sword. It was not an easy task to achieve this. Yi Xian's face became older and older. Not long after, his hair was white and his breath was gossamer. Xiao said in horror, Young master, don't risk your life. Use the Qingxian sword. We don't work hard anymore. There's nothing wrong with being a second generation. Don't scare me. Yi Xian ignored Xiaota. Xiaota quickly said, Little Soul, help young master. Little Soul said with a trembling voice, I'm just a sword. Shit. Xiaota. Chapter 2099. In the field, Yi Xian was indescribably old. Not only that, his breath was almost gone. His lifespan was gone. He was really on his last breath. Even so, he didn't choose to use the green profound sword. Had he ever risked his life in this life? In the city of Qing, he had risked his life many times. But after leaving the city of Qing, he had risked his life less and less. As Xiao had said, he had been spoiled by Qing. He was getting more and more flashy. As Di Ming had said, without Qing and his father, what was he? What was he? After asking himself, the result was that it was nothing at all. What was the saddest thing about a man? Looking back at the past, he had accomplished nothing. Suddenly, he was tired of it. He was tired of this kind of life without passion and fighting. If he didn't want to work hard, if he didn't want to fight, why didn't he just follow Qing? If he followed Qing, wouldn't he be able to show off as much as he wanted? And his father? All this time, his father had never cared about him. Was he really heartless and cold-blooded? His father knew very well that Qing had spoiled him too much. If Qing had spoiled him too, wouldn't he have gone straight to heaven? If he had a son, would he want him to be like him? Would he? Of course not. Looking back, other than the time in the city of Qing, what did he look like? Disgust. He was really disgusted with his previous self. That was why he had chosen to risk his life. Just then, the corner of Yi Xian's mouth lifted. He was smiling. The next moment, his old face returned to its youthful state. Reverse. At this critical moment, he had finally balanced the two powers. Soon, Yi Xian had returned to normal. Yi Xian looked around, his eyes full of vicissitudes. It had only been a short time, but it had made him feel like he had been reborn. What was worth mentioning was that he had used the two powers to reconstruct his body. Previously, Zhou Xian taught him how to cultivate the life-profound body, and he used the method Zhou Xian taught him to cultivate the life-profound body. However, he used the power of time reversal to cultivate the life-profound body. It could be said that his life-profound body was completely different from others. Apart from that, he had complete control over these two powers because he had found a balance between them. At this time, Xiaoda suddenly said, "Young lord, you succeeded?" Yi Xian nodded. After a moment of silence, Xiaoda said, "Young master, you seem to have changed." Yi Xian smiled. "It's time for me to grow up." At this moment, a strand of sword qi suddenly floated out of his body, and it slowly floated to a spot not far away from Yi Xian. It was the azure-robed man's sword qi. Meanwhile, roaring laughter suddenly resounded from within that strand of sword qi. "Stinking kid, you finally made your father look at you in a different light." It was the voice of the azure-robed man. Yi Xian smiled. "Dad, I will work hard. This time, I'm serious." The azure-robed man laughed. "All right, Dad is happy today, so you can make a request." Yi Xian thought for a moment and said, "Take good care of my mother." After a moment of silence, the azure-robed man said softly, "All right." Yi Xian said again, "Tell my mother that she doesn't need to pave the way for me. Her son will walk the road from now on." The azure-robed man was helpless. "I can't do that. She's very persistent. However, don't worry about it. Let her do it. As long as she's happy." Yi Xian nodded slightly. "Then I have no other requests." The azure-robed man laughed. "This isn't like you. It's rare for Dad to be happy today. You can make a request. As long as you mention it, Dad will agree." Yi Xian shook his head. "There's really no need." The azure-robed man was about to speak when Xiaoda suddenly said, "Master, if young lord doesn't want to make a request, can I? If I make a request, it's the same as him making a request." The azure-robed man immediately said, "Get lost." Xiao Ta. At this moment, the azure-robed man said again, "Little fellow, you've really grown up. Dad is very pleased. Dad will wait for you at the end of this road." Yi Xian nodded. "All right." The strand of sword energy suddenly vanished slowly. Yi Xian knew that Dad had left. After a moment of silence, Yi Xian shook his head and smiled. As if he thought of something, he took out the green profound sword and lightly slashed his body. A wound appeared on his chest. However, in the blink of an eye, the wound vanished. Mysterious life body? He preferred to call it the reverse compliance body. Time recovery. Under normal circumstances, it would take at least 15 minutes to recover with the immortal bloodline. However, he could speed up time. Simply put, he had increased the recovery ability of the immortal bloodline by at least a few thousand times. It wasn't exaggerated at all. As long as he didn't want to die now, it would be very difficult for him to die. Apart from that, he could use slash of life and slash of future even without the green profound sword. At this moment, Zhou Exine suddenly appeared in front of Yi Xian. She sized up Yi Xian and asked, "You've broken through?" Yi Xian nodded. Zhou Exine was silent. Yi Xian smiled. "What's the matter?" Zhou Exine nodded. "After the Shangqiu kingdom disappeared, my Zhou clan rose. Then, our current territory belongs to the Shangqiu kingdom. Now that they've come out," Yi Xian said in a low voice, "do they want those territories back?" Zhou Exine nodded. Yi Xian smiled. "Their real target is actually me, right? Because they gave up those territories back then. In other words, their real target isn't those territories. They want me to go with them to find the Book of the Universe." Zhou Exine nodded again. Yi Xian thought about it and said, "I'll go find them." With that, he turned around and rode his sword, disappearing into the horizon in the blink of an eye. At this moment, Yi Xian suddenly turned around and Zhou Exine appeared beside him. She looked at Yi Xian. "I'll go with you." Yi Xian smiled. "Okay." Zhou Exine suddenly asked, "The man who spoke just now, is he your father?" Yi Xian nodded. Actually, Zhou Exine had been here for a long time. However, she didn't come out when he was talking to his father. Zhou Exine said in a low voice, "He's very strong." Yi Xian asked with a smile, "How strong?" Zhou Exine thought about it and said, "I don't know." With that, she looked at Yi Xian. "Do you know?" Yi Xian shook his head. "I don't know either." Zhou Exine glanced at Yi Xian and didn't say anything else. Before long, the two of them arrived at the emperor's tomb. As soon as they arrived, a life-profound realm elder appeared in front of them. The elder looked at Yi Xian and Zhou Exi. "What's the matter?" Yi Xian smiled. "I want to see Di Ming." The elder stared at Yi Xian. "Who do you think you are? You want to see him?" At this point, his pupils suddenly shrank and he frantically retreated. This retreat took him hundreds of thousands of meters away. When he stopped, a sword had already pierced through his forehead. It wasn't the profound green sword. It was just an ordinary sword. The sudden turn of events caused the expressions of the life-profound realm experts in the dark to change drastically. It wasn't just the Xianxia experts. Even Zhou Exin, who was beside Yi Xian, had a trace of shock in her eyes. Slashing the future. Yi Xian had used this move on her before. However, the power of that move wasn't as terrifying as Yi Xian's. Not only that, Yi Xian had used that divine sword. Now Yi Xian was using an ordinary sword. How did Yi Xian do it? Zhou Xian's heart was filled with questions. Yi Xian looked at the horrified old man in the distance and smiled. "Geezer, next time you speak to me, you have to be more polite." As he spoke, the sword between the elder's eyebrows had returned to Yi Xian's hand. At this time, Di Ming appeared in front of Yi Xian and Zhou Exin. Di Ming looked at Yi Xian. "How did you do it?" He had to admit that he was also a little shocked. Yi Xian's move had reversed time, but it was completely different from their defy the world. Yi Xian smiled. "Di Ming, I am your target. Why do you have to cause trouble for the Zhou clan? Miss Zhou Xian is my friend. Can you give me some face and stop causing trouble for her and the Zhou clan?" Di Ming stared at Yi Xian. "What if I say no?" Yi Xian raised his thumb and the sword in his hand suddenly disappeared. Di Ming narrowed his eyes. He couldn't feel Yi Xian's sword. No one could feel it. Yi Xian looked at Di Ming and smiled. "Don't worry, let the sword fly for a while. Of course, if you are willing to nod now, I can make it stop." Di Ming stared at Yi Xian. "What are you pretending to be, Qi?" At this time, a few hundred feet behind Di Ming, a life-profound realm expert's head flew off without a sound. Blood splattered everywhere. Everyone in the field was shocked and quickly retreated. Di Ming's pupils shrank and he was shocked beyond belief. Zhou Exin was silent. Her heart was in turmoil. Yi Xian's future slash was even more terrifying than before. He was even more adept at using it. Without a sound, even a life-profound realm expert would not be able to defend against it, even if they were mentally prepared. Yi Xian looked at Di Ming and smiled. "Clan leader Di Ming, I am your target. If you have any complaints, you can come to me. Don't go to Miss Zhou Exin and her Zhou clan. Is that okay?" Then he put his thumb on the scabbard. The experts of the Xianxia kingdom revealed grim expressions as if they were facing a formidable enemy when they witnessed this scene. They were really afraid of Yi Xian's strange sword. He could kill their future selves with one strike. How could they defend against this? The life-profound realm experts looked at Yi Xian as if he was a monster. Di Ming stared at Yi Xian and clenched his right hand. At this moment, the shock in his heart could not be any greater. How long had it been? How could this guy be so terrifying? Yi Xian suddenly smiled. "Is that okay?" Di Ming fell silent for a moment. "Young Master Yi, this is a misunderstanding. A huge misunderstanding." As he spoke, he cupped his fists and said, "I apologize to young Master Yi for offending you in the past. I hope young Master Yi won't take it to heart." Yi Xian turned to look at Zhou Exin and smiled. "It's done." Zhou Exin fell silent for a moment. "I thought you were going to call for help." Yi Xian blinked. "You helped me because I had someone to rely on, right?" Zhou Exin nodded. Yi Xian smiled and didn't speak. Zhou Exin looked Yi Xian in the eye. "Are you angry?" Yi Xian laughed. "I'm not angry, because you told me the truth." He smiled again. "Let me introduce myself again. I'm Yi Xian. I'm a second-generation heir." Zhou Exin fell silent for a moment. "I'm Zhou Exin. I still want to use you." They looked at each other and smiled. "P.S. I'm too ashamed to ask for a vote." Chapter 2100. Yi Xian and Zhou Xing were about to leave when Di Ming suddenly asked, "Young Master Yi, are you really not interested in the Book of the Universe?" The Book of the Universe. Yi Xian stopped. He turned his head to look at Zhou Xing next to him. "What's so special about this Book of the Universe?" Zhou Xing answered, "I don't know. All I know is that this book is the origin of the civilization in this metaverse." Di Ming suddenly said, "As Miss Zhou said, this book is indeed the origin of the civilization in the metaverse. But it's not just that. As far as I know, this book also records all the realms of the metaverse and the cultivation methods of all realms. Moreover, it is said that this book also has a terrifying ability. That is, as long as someone's name is written in this book, that person will die." Yi Xian frowned. "That mysterious?" Di Ming nodded. "To be more precise, anyone who has cultivated the Book of the Universe will die as long as their name is written in it. Besides that, this book has many other mysterious functions. I don't know the specifics." Yi Xian smiled. "Why does clan leader Di Ming keep asking me to go with you to find this Book of the Universe?" Di Ming said, "To tell you the truth, this book is in the universe spacetime. It is an extremely terrifying spacetime realm. It is very difficult to enter it, but the sword in young Master Ye's hand can restrain spacetime." Yi Xian said softly, "So that's how it is." Di Ming glanced at Yi Xian and said nothing more. Yi Xian thought for a moment and said, "Let's go and have a look." He turned to Zhou Xing and the latter nodded. "Let's go." Yi Xian smiled. "Then let's go." Di Ming suddenly said, "Both of you, follow me." With that, he led the experts of the Xianxia kingdom and disappeared into the horizon. Yi Xian and Zhou Xing followed. On the way, Zhou Xing looked at Yi Xian, wanting to say something but hesitating. Yi Xian smiled and said, "Do you want to ask me how I was able to control the power of time without using the green profound sword?" Zhou Xing looked at Yi Xian and said, "If I were to ask this, would it be a little abrupt?" Yi Xian smiled and said, "I won't." Zhou Xing said in a deep voice, "I'm really curious. I don't know about your ability to reverse time, and I've never seen it before. However, I'm very clear about the power of the white day spacetime. It's not something that a physical body can withstand. Even a life-profound body can't withstand it, but you can. I really don't understand." Yi Xian said with a smile, "I won't be able to bear the power of the white day spacetime alone. However, with the help of another power, a power that is completely opposite to it, I can make them coexist." After a moment of silence, Zhou Xing said, "I understand. One goes against the other, one goes against the other, achieves a balance, and both coexist." Yi Xian smiled and said, "Yes." Zhou Xing sighed softly. She knew that Yi Xian was the only one who could do this because no one else had the power to reverse time. Zhou Xing seemed to have thought of something and looked at Di Ming and the others in the distance and said, "We have to be careful of them." Yi Xian nodded and said, "Of course." They sped up and about an hour later, Di Ming, who was at the front, suddenly stopped. Not far in front of him was a flight of stairs with no end in sight. Di Ming looked at the stairs and said in a deep voice, "This is the passageway to that space-time." As he spoke, he led the experts of the Xianxia kingdom towards the passageway. Yi Xian and Zhou Xing immediately followed. As soon as they set foot on the stone stairs, Yi Xian frowned slightly, because a trace of uneasiness had arisen in the depths of his heart. At his level of strength, he was able to sense some unknown dangers. Beside him, Zhou Xing's brows were also slightly furrowed. At this moment, Di Ming suddenly said, "Young Master Yi, if I may ask, your father and brother are not from the metaverse, right?" Glancing at Di Ming, Yi Xian said with a smile, "What?" Di Ming smiled and said, "Nothing, I'm just curious." Yi Xian smiled and said, "They are indeed not from the metaverse." Di Ming smiled and said, "Then I'm a little curious." Yi Xian was also curious. "Clan leader Di Ming, is there a universe more powerful than the metaverse?" Di Ming nodded and said, "Yes." Yi Xian smiled and asked, "What universe?" Di Ming said softly, "The ancient universe." Yi Xian frowned slightly. He turned his head to look at Zhou Xing beside him. "Do you know?" Zhou Xing shook her head. Di Ming smiled and said, "It's normal that she doesn't know. The ancient universe is very far away from us and it doesn't allow people from lower-level universes to enter." Yi Xian asked, "Not even life-profound realm cultivators?" Di Ming shook his head and said, "No." Yi Xian smiled and said, "That's interesting." Di Ming suddenly asked, "Young Master Yi, are you from the ancient universe?" Yi Xian shook his head and said nothing. Di Ming nodded and did not say anything, but a cold light flashed in the depths of his eyes. Yi Xian suddenly said, "I am from a universe more powerful than the ancient universe." Di Ming's expression froze and he turned to Yi Xian and asked, "A universe more powerful than the ancient universe?" Yi Xian smiled and said, "Why?" Clan leader Di Ming, do you think that the ancient universe is the most powerful universe in this vast universe? Di Ming was silent for a while and said, "I wonder which universe young Master Yi is from?" Yi Xian smiled and said, "Why don't you take a guess?" Di Ming looked at Yi Xian and said, "I can't." Yi Xian smiled and said, "Where I come from, life-profound realm cultivators are as common as dogs." Di Ming could not help but ask, "Life-profound realm cultivators are like dogs?" Yi Xian nodded and said, "Yes." Di Ming glanced at Yi Xian and did not believe it. He only believed a little of what Yi Xian said. Zhou Xing, who was standing beside Yi Xian, suddenly asked, "What is above life-profound realm?" Yi Xian thought for a while and said, "Profound life." Zhou Xing was speechless. About an hour later, they stopped. There was a huge stone door not far in front of them. There was a huge black word in the middle of the door. "Hun." Di Ming said softly, "We are here." Then he turned to Yi Xian and said, "Young Master Yi, this door contains a kind of space-time power. Please use your sword to break it." Yi Xian nodded and walked to the door. Just as he was about to do it, the door suddenly opened. Everyone was stunned. "It opened automatically?" Di Ming said in a low voice, "The space-time power is gone." Someone went in. Someone went in? Yi Xian was about to speak when Di Ming rushed in with the Xianxia experts. Zhou Xing, who was standing beside Yi Xian, asked, "Shall we go in?" Yi Xian smiled and said, "You feel the danger too?" Zhou Xing nodded. Yi Xian thought for a while and said, "We are already here. Let's go in and have a look." As he spoke, he walked towards the wide open stone door. Zhou Xing thought for a while and followed. After passing through the stone gate, a huge blue stone plaza appeared in front of Yi Xian and Zhou Xing. Above this huge stone plaza was a bottomless starry sky. Not far above everyone's heads, a dark blue ball floated in the air. Di Ming and the others were there. Apart from Di Ming and the others, there was also a man and a woman. Both of them looked very young. The woman was wearing a tight white dress, and her long hair was tied up with a purple ribbon, hanging behind her head. In her right hand, she was holding a black ancient book. Yi Xian looked at the woman and raised his guard. Damn it! Any woman who read books was not easy to deal with. Along the way, the women who read books were scarier than the last. Sister Nian, Qing, women were not scary. What was scary was women with culture. Both the woman and the man were looking at the orb above their heads with a hint of astonishment in their eyes. Not far away, Di Ming looked at the two of them with a grave expression. At this time, the woman turned to Di Ming and the others and asked, "What's the matter?" Di Ming said in a low voice, "Who are you?" The woman smiled and said, "Kill them." As soon as she finished speaking, the man next to her suddenly disappeared. Di Ming's pupils shrank and he threw a punch. Boom! This punch caused the surrounding space to tremble violently, and then a figure was blasted away. It was Di Ming. After Di Ming flew out, the faces of the experts around him changed drastically. Without hesitation, everyone rushed towards the man. Meanwhile, the man opened his palm and a blood-red thread flew out. After that, a strange scene appeared. Before the profound life stage experts could even react, the blood-red thread had already pierced through the space between their brows. In an instant, 48 life-profound realm experts were obliterated. All of them were killed instantly. Yi Xian fell silent. The 48 life profound realm experts had cultivated for 1,000 years, and then they were born and then they died. This life was too dramatic. Di Ming was stunned as well. They were all dead. Dozens of life profound realm experts were gone just like that? Meanwhile, the man looked at Di Ming. Di Ming's face changed drastically and he hurriedly hid behind Yi Xian. Young Master Yi, the man looked at Yi Xian as if he was looking at an ant. He was about to attack when the woman suddenly said, "Wait." The man stopped. The woman suddenly pointed at the man with her right hand. A sword suddenly appeared between the man's eyebrows, and the sword was stopped by the woman's finger. Cutting the future. The man's pupils constricted. He looked at Yi Xian with a trace of seriousness. The woman looked at Yi Xian and smiled, cutting the future with a sword. I never thought there would be an expert like you outside the ancient world. How surprising. Yi Xian smiled. How should I address you? The woman smiled. Second Immortal. Yi Xian smiled. Second Immortal, are you here for the Book of the Universe? Second Immortal nodded. Yes. Yi Xian thought about it and was about to speak when Second Immortal suddenly smiled. I still lack a servant. Are you interested? Yi Xian was struck dumb right away. What a guy! Yi Xian exclaimed. He thought he had made a friend, but the other party wanted to be his master? Second Immortal said, being my servant is something that countless people dream of. Yi Xian thought about it and smiled. I still lack a woman. Are you interested? Being Yi Xian's woman is something that countless women dream of. Second Immortal looked at Yi Xian. In 10 breaths, you will kneel before me and lick my toes. Yi Xian frowned. Did Tianyi give you the courage? Tianyi. Chapter 2101. Arrogant. Yi Xian was a bit speechless. What he disliked the most were people who thought they were born extraordinary and thought they were superior to others. Were those from the ancient universe superior to others? Damn it. To think that this woman still studied. Did all the books she read go to her ass? Or was she the same as him, and only took books to show off? In the distance, the Second Immortal looked at Yi Xian. 10 breaths are up. As soon as she finished speaking, she suddenly took a step forward. With this step, the space above Yi Xian's head suddenly trembled violently. Immediately after, a purple footprint suddenly appeared in the air and then fell in a straight line. With the appearance of the footprint, Yi Xian felt as if a mountain was pressing down on him. His internal organs felt like they were about to explode. Yi Xian lightly pushed up with his thumb. With the sound of a sword, the cyan profound sword suddenly flew out. The instant the cyan profound sword flew out, everyone's expressions changed greatly. Life-severing. At that moment, the flow of time in the entire limestone square sped up countless times. As for the footprint above his head, it disappeared without a trace. When Yi Xian used this sword, he directly put Zhou Xing into Xiaota. As for Di Ming, he instantly turned into an old man with 1 foot in the grave. At that moment he was as thin as a match, his hair was white, and his eyes were lifeless. There was not a single trace of life in him. The profound life realm could resist the power of flowing away, but the sword that Yi Xian used at that moment did not only contain the power of flowing away, but also the power of flowing away from time. Moreover, the sword he used was the cyan profound sword. The two powers, one going against the other, found a perfect balance. Thus, a profound life realm expert could not resist it at all. On the other side, when Yi Xian used the power of flowing away from time, the Second Immortal's expression also changed. She opened her right hand, and a ray of purple light directly enveloped her. Under the cover of the purple light, she blocked Yi Xian's power of flowing away from time. However, the man beside her could not block it, and directly turned into a skeleton. The Second Immortal coldly looked at Yi Xian. Daytime space-time flow power. There's also an unknown power that reverses time. Yi Xian turned to look at Di Ming, who was about to die. He waved his right hand, and a mysterious power enveloped Di Ming. In the next moment, Di Ming returned to normal. He had been reborn. After returning to normal, Di Ming was at a loss for a while, then quickly bowed to Yi Xian and said in a trembling voice, "Thank you, young Master Yi." Yi Xian smiled, then turned to look at the second immortal. He sized him up and asked curiously, "What is this purple light?" Second immortal said calmly, "Country bumpkins will always be country bumpkins. They don't even recognize the purple myrtle divine light. How sad." Yi Xian stared at second immortal. "Will you die if you don't act cool?" Second immortal sneered, "Do you think I'm humiliating you by taking you in as a slave? What a joke. Do you know how many people in the ancient universe want to join our second clan? Yet, you treat this opportunity that can change your fate as an insult. What a joke." Yi Xian shook his head and smiled. "It seems that we don't have a common language." Then, the cyan profound sword in his hand flew out again. The sword slashed at the purple light. Boom! The purple light shook violently, then cracked. Seeing this, the second immortal's pupils shrank. "You? What sword is that? It can actually hurt my purple myrtle divine light." Yi Xian blinked. "I thought the people of the ancient universe were so amazing, but they don't even recognize my cyan profound sword. How sad." Second immortal stared at Yi Xian. "You will pay a painful price for provoking me." Yi Xian did not waste any time. He launched a sword attack right away. Boom! With this slash, the purple myrtle divine light was destroyed. Almost at the same time, the second immortal disappeared. He disappeared from where he was. At the same time, Yi Xian showed up in an unknown and mysterious galaxy. Yi Xian frowned slightly. He glanced around. What was this place? At that moment, the starry sky in the distance suddenly split open. The next moment, a purple light broke through the sky and shot towards him like a shooting star. Purple myrtle divine light? Yi Xian frowned. Without thinking too much, he lightly pushed with his thumb. Buzz! The cyan profound sword suddenly flew out and slashed the purple light. Boom! In an instant, the entire starry sky burned. Yi Xian's cyan profound sword forcibly blocked the divine light. However, the powerful divine light was not destroyed. The sword and the light were in a deadlock. At that moment, Yi Xian suddenly frowned and raised his head. At the end of the starry sky in the distance, the second immortal suddenly appeared. She looked down at Yi Xian and opened her right hand. A golden blue token appeared. "Stars, heed my command. Gather." As the sound of his voice faded, the entire galaxy trembled in an instant. Then, boundless power of the stars suddenly gathered from the myriad worlds in the heavens. As the powerful power of the stars entered the starry sky began to be annihilated. This part of the Milky Way couldn't possibly withstand so much star energy. Yi Xian looked at the second immortal in the distance in silence. There was something wrong with this woman's brain, but there was no problem with her strength. She first used the purple myrtle divine light to stall his cyan profound sword, then used this killer move to deal with him. Clearly, she thought that his strength came from the cyan profound sword. That was not wrong. But this star power, Yi Xian's expression became strange. In the depths of the starry sky, the second immortal looked down at Yi Xian, her eyes filled with savagery. "God of the stars." She pointed her fingers at Yi Xian as soon as she finished speaking. In an instant, the endless power of the stars suddenly burst out and blasted at Yi Xian, who was on the ground. How terrifying was the gathering of star power from all the worlds in the sky. In an instant, the entire starry sky turned pitch black and was completely destroyed. Below, Yi Xian's expression was calm. He did not dodge or evade, allowing the boundless star power to slam into his body. Boom! In an instant, Yi Xian became a little blue person. In the distance, the second immortal's pupils constricted because she discovered that Yi Xian was not only fine, he was even madly absorbing the star power. The second immortal stared at Yi Xian, her eyes filled with disbelief. How is this possible? Below, Yi Xian greedily sucked in a deep breath. At that moment, he felt as if he was about to explode. The power of the stars was just too much. Why could he absorb star power? Back in the five-dimensional universe, Sister Nian had helped him modify his constitution. In reality, that constitution had already fallen behind. Under normal circumstances, he would not be able to absorb star power because his body would not be able to endure it. But now, his body was a body of time that he had modified. Let alone this bit of star power, even if there was 10 times more star power, he would be able to absorb it. After absorbing the star power, Yixian was very excited. After his body absorbed the boundless star power, his cultivation instantly soared. Too awesome! Yixian raised his head and looked at the cyan profound sword in the distance. He opened his palm and fiercely shook it. Boom! The cyan profound sword violently trembled and directly tore apart the ray of myrtle divine light. Then, it turned into a ray of crystal blue sword light that slashed towards the second immortal. In the air, a hint of malevolence flashed across the second immortal's eyes. She suddenly formed a seal with her hands and a black writ suddenly floated out from her hands. Divine trigram writ, appear. As she spoke, a huge 8 trigrams diagram appeared in front of her. When the cyan profound sword slashed towards her, strands of mysterious power within the 8 trigrams diagram flew out. In an instant, the cyan profound sword was bound by them. At the same time, 4 bolts of lightning suddenly flew out from the 8 trigrams diagram and turned into 4 lightning chains that locked onto the cyan profound sword. Within the 8 trigrams diagram, the cyan profound sword violently trembled. At that moment, with a thought from Yixian, the cyan profound sword violently trembled and slashed downwards, severing life. As the sword descended, the 8 trigrams diagram turned into nothingness. At the same time, the cyan profound sword slashed towards the second immortal once again. The second immortal's pupils constricted when she saw that. She didn't retreat, and a blood-red writ token suddenly appeared in her hand. She pressed her fingers together, and a drop of blood essence flew out from the tip of her finger and entered the blood-red writ token. She roared furiously, "I use my blood to bind the immortal spirit." As soon as her voice resounded, boom! A ray of white light suddenly descended in front of the second immortal. In the next moment, a middle-aged man in a white robe walked out from within the ray of white light. The middle-aged man held a lantern staff in his hand and had a calm expression. When he saw the middle-aged man, Yixian's face fell. What technique is this? A summoning technique? At that moment, the middle-aged man suddenly raised the lantern staff in his hand and said softly, "Dark flame like day." As soon as he spoke, he lightly pointed the lantern staff in his hand at Yixian. Bang! In an instant, a ball of fire suddenly flew out from within the lantern. In the next moment, a path of fire swept down from the sky at a speed invisible to the naked eye. At that moment, the pitch-black starry sky was like day, but everyone felt as if they had fallen into the 9 hells. Below, Yixian's expression instantly became serious. He opened his palm, and the green profound sword returned to his hand. Then he slowly closed his eyes. Calm his mind. Focus his mind. In the next moment, Yixian suddenly pushed up with his thumb. Along with the sound of a sword, the green profound sword in Yixian's hand suddenly shot into the sky. The sword pierces the 9 heavens. Yixian still used severing life for this attack. Moreover, he used severing life while in a calm and focused state. The green profound sword directly tore through the path of fire and instantly arrived before the middle-aged man. At that moment, the middle-aged man lightly tapped the sword with the lantern staff in his hand. Bang! The green profound sword was directly tapped on the spot. Below, Yixian's eyes narrowed slightly. The middle-aged man actually blocked the green profound sword's energy. Severing life was ineffective against him? In the depths of the starry sky, when the second immortal saw Yixian's shocked expression, he couldn't help but ridicule. This is an immortal god. It has no body and is in the form of a soul. He has become an immortal god, and his soul is close to eternal life. Your severing life is completely useless against him. Do you understand? You big idiot. The soul? Yixian was stunned, and then he said, "It's actually a soul. Thank you for telling me." As soon as he spoke, the green profound sword suddenly trembled violently. It directly pierced through the lantern staff, and then directly entered the space between the middle-aged man's eyebrows. Bang! In an instant, the middle-aged man was completely absorbed by the green profound sword. Soul fixation sword. In the sky, the second immortal was petrified on the spot. This, after the green profound sword absorbed the immortal god's soul, its aura suddenly rose explosively. At the same time, Soul's voice suddenly rang out. "Young master, I'm about to break through." Yi Xian was silent for a moment, then he looked at the second immortal. "So you're here to give me warmth?" "Thank you." The second immortal. P.S. Yesterday was the third chapter, but the first chapter had harmonious words, so the chapter was directly skipped. So, the readers who were reading at the beginning discovered that the chapter was skipped. Sorry. It's my fault for giving everyone a bad reading experience. Next time, try to write more properly and be a proper person. Some old readers should know by now that the censorship is very strict. You can't write below the neck. Chapter 2102. It had to be said that the immortal spirit summoned by the second immortal was powerful enough to resist his life severing. Even now, the second immortal did not dare to face his life-severing head-on. Unfortunately, the immortal spirit was a soul body. The Xianxia sword plus his soul-setting sword was a natural counter to souls. After the Xianxia sword devoured the immortal spirit's soul, its aura skyrocketed. It was going to break through. It had to be known that the Xianxia sword could break through, and it had been a long time since it had broken through. Yi Xian was looking forward to it. As if thinking of something, Yi Xian raised his head and looked at the second immortal in the distance. The second immortal's expression was abnormally calm. "I underestimated you." Yi Xian smiled and said, "Lady second immortal, I don't think there's any deep hatred between us. There's no need to fight to the death, right?" He really did not want to fight to the death. Kill this woman? If he really did kill this woman, then he could guess what would happen next. It would be the second clan madly targeting him. In the end, he could not stand it anymore and would be forced to let Qing'er or his father deal with it. He was tired of it. Moreover, as he said, there was no deep hatred between him and this woman. Was it worth it to form a death grudge over such a trivial matter? In the distance, the woman's lips curled into a mocking smile. "Fight to the death? Do you think you're qualified to fight to the death with me?" Hearing that, Yi Xian felt a headache coming on. Does this woman cultivate without training her brain? At that moment, the second immortal suddenly opened her palm. A token suddenly appeared in her palm. The token was pure gold and had countless strange runes drawn on it. The second immortal held the token and pointed with her finger. A drop of blood entered the token. Then she slowly closed her eyes. "With my blood, I command the heavens." With that, the token in her hand suddenly disappeared without a trace. In the next moment, the starry sky above Yi Xian's head suddenly split open. Then, a huge black hand reached out. A huge hand that covered the sky. Heaven's left hand. The second immortal looked down at Yi Xian with a ferocious expression. "Ant from a lowly world, let's see how you block this heavenly left hand." In the depths of the starry sky, the heavenly left hand suddenly fell. In an instant, countless space-time was destroyed. This hand was enough to destroy the entire metaverse. Yi Xian looked solemn for the first time as he stared at the heavenly left hand. The power contained in the giant hand made even his heart palpitate. Damn it! Was this woman a summoner? Without thinking too much, Yi Xian opened his palm, and the Xianxia sword flew back into his hand. He slowly closed his eyes and directly entered a meditative and focused state. At the same time, the power of his bloodline was directly activated. But he still didn't choose to summon the power of the myriad world. With the activation of the power of the bloodline, Yi Xian's aura skyrocketed in an instant. Yi Xian gently pushed up with his thumb. The green profound sword in his hand suddenly turned into a blood-red ray of sword light and soared into the sky. The sword tore through the sky and tore apart everything. Compared to the giant hand, Yi Xian's sword seemed extremely small. However, when the green profound sword slashed at the center of the giant hand, the heavenly left hand trembled violently. Immediately after, countless cracks appeared. Seeing this, the second immortal narrowed her eyes and a trace of disbelief flashed deep within her eyes. How is this possible? This person's sword can actually injure the heavenly left hand. In the distance, several more flying swords suddenly slashed at the heavenly left hand. Boom! Boom! Several rays of sword light suddenly exploded and the heavenly left hand completely split apart. At that moment, the green profound sword suddenly pierced through. Boom! The heavenly left hand directly shattered. The second immortal's expression suddenly changed, and she blocked with her right hand. A sword suddenly slashed at her. The second immortal couldn't dodge in time and could only use her hand to block it. However, the moment she touched Yi Xian's sword, her entire arm flew off. However, she retreated tens of thousands of meters away. However, the moment she stopped, a sword pierced through her chest. Slashing the future. Two swords slashing the future. It was impossible to guard against. Although he had stabbed the second immortal, Yi Xian furrowed his brows because he realized that his flying sword was slowly disappearing. Yi Xian looked at the second immortal. At that moment, his flying sword had already completely disappeared, and the second immortal's body had already returned to normal. Yi Xian knitted his eyebrows tightly at the sight of that. This woman's constitution was a bit special. It seemed that normal swords could not kill her, so he could only use the green profound sword. In the distance, the second immortal stared fixedly at Yi Xian. I underestimated you. But don't worry, I won't underestimate you now. As soon as she finished speaking, she suddenly opened her palm, and another token appeared in her palm. However, this token was different from before. It was a sword token. The second immortal looked at Yi Xian and a sinister smile appeared on her face. Aren't you a swordsman? Then I'll let you die by my sword. As she spoke, she suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood essence onto the token. The token violently trembled and roared furiously, In the name of the great sword master, I command the swordsmen of all worlds to attack. As she spoke, the sword token violently trembled. Then, a sword cry shook the heavens. In the next moment, sword cries suddenly resounded throughout the heavens. Then, countless flying swords suddenly streaked through space and flew over. In a short period of time, hundreds of thousands of swords appeared above the second immortal's head. Every sword represented the power of a powerful swordsman. At that moment, the second immortal suddenly roared furiously. Gather! As soon as he finished speaking, the hundreds of thousands of swords suddenly transformed into hundreds of thousands of rays of light that shot into the sword command token. The sword command token trembled violently, and then a sword howl resounded from within it. In an instant, all the sword cultivators in the universe turned their heads in unison to look towards the source of the sword howl. In the sky, the second immortal looked down at Yi Xian and said somewhat crazily, "Swordsman, tremble." As she spoke, she pointed her finger at Yi Xian. Slash! The sword token suddenly flew down from the sky. An extremely terrifying tearing sound suddenly resounded throughout the universe. Down below, Yi Xian remained silent. When the sword token arrived above his head, he did not dodge or evade, allowing the sword token to pierce through his head. Boom! In an instant, with Yi Xian as the center, the space within millions of miles turned into nothingness. However, Yi Xian was fine. He was standing there. Not only that, he was also madly absorbing the boundless sword energy. Seeing that, the second immortal in the sky was stupefied. Her eyes widened as she stared at Yi Xian, her heart filled with shock. Impossible? How is this possible? Down below, Yi Xian's body trembled violently. At this moment, he was slightly shocked as well because the power contained within that sword token was truly too terrifying. Of course, that energy could not kill him, but it would fill him to death. Yi Xian began to absorb the energy crazily, and his aura skyrocketed at this moment. Seeing Yi Xian's aura explode, the second immortal in the distance was in disbelief. You? How can you? Yi Xian suddenly opened his eyes. He looked at the second immortal, thought for a bit, and said, You really are a good person. Second Immortal. Not long after, Yi Xian completely absorbed all the energy. After absorbing the energy, his aura was so strong that it wasn't any weaker than the Second Immortal. Although he was not at the life-profound realm right now, his cultivation and strength, without using one sword severing life and severing future, was not the slightest bit inferior to experts above the life-profound realm. His strength, fed by the power of the stars and the sword energy, increased by at least several times. Yi Xian looked at the Second Immortal and said sincerely, "You really are a good person." Those words were truly from the bottom of his heart. In the distance, the Second Immortal stared at Yi Xian. How did you do it? It had to be said that right now, she was truly shocked. Not only could this guy devour the power of the stars, but he could also devour sword energy. Was he a black hole? He could devour anything. Yi Xian looked at the Second Immortal and smiled. "Lady Second Immortal, since you've given me so many gifts, I don't really want to kill you." The Second Immortal's lips curled into a mocking smile. "Kill me? You think you?" As she spoke, her pupils suddenly shrank. In the next moment, a sword pierced through her forehead. The Second Immortal's expression changed greatly. She hurriedly activated her special constitution and wanted to devour Yi Xian's sword. But this time, she was disappointed, because that sword was the profound Cyan sword. After the profound Cyan sword pierced through her forehead, it locked her soul in place, making her unable to move. At that moment, the Second Immortal panicked. She truly smelled the scent of death. Yi Xian faintly smiled. "Lady Second Immortal, let me ask you a question. Do you still have any command medallions? If you do, I won't kill you for now. You can summon them first and we'll continue fighting." The damage was not high, but the insults were extremely strong. The Second Immortal stared at Yi Xian. "Do you know who I am?" Yi Xian nodded. "The Second Immortal." The Second Immortal coldly said, "I'm from the Second Clan. Do you know about the Second Clan?" Yi Xian curled his lips. "Lady Second Immortal, if you speak like that, then it's meaningless. Once you lose a fight, you call on your backer. That's very meaningless." The Second Immortal stared at Yi Xian. "Don't you know that identity and backer are also a type of strength?" Yi Xian was silent for a moment, then said, "You said what I've always wanted to say, but was too embarrassed to say it." "Xiao Ta." The Second Immortal stared at Yi Xian. "If I die here, your entire metaverse will be buried with me." Yi Xian faintly nodded. "I'm so scared." The Second Immortal suddenly asked, "What's your father's name?" Yi Xian was slightly startled, then said, "His name is Yang Yi." "What, you want to cause trouble for him?" The Second Immortal stared at Yi Xian. "If anything happens to me, your Yang family will be annihilated." Yi Xian was silent for a moment, then said, "What does the annihilation of the Yang family have to do with me?" The green-clothed man. Chapter 2103. Xiao Ta suddenly said, "Young mistress, if master hears what you're saying, you'll be beaten to death." Yi Xian was speechless. In the distance, the Second Immortal stared at Yi Xian. "If you want the entire primordial universe to die with you, then kill me." Yi Xian suddenly slashed with his fingers. The green profound sword slashed across the Second Immortal's neck. A stream of blood shot out. The Second Immortal's eyes opened wide. She hadn't expected that the person before her would actually dare to kill her. Yi Xian smiled. "I'm a person who can be persuaded by reason, but not cowed by force. Moreover, I hate it when people threaten me." The Second Immortal stared at Yi Xian. "You'll regret this." Yi Xian smiled. "Perhaps, but you won't be able to see it." As soon as he finished speaking, he willed the green profound sword to absorb her soul completely. However, at the instant that the Second Immortal disappeared completely, a ray of blood-red light suddenly entered the center of Yi Xian's forehead. It was very calm, but a blood-red mark appeared on the center of Yi Xian's forehead. At the same time, a voice suddenly resounded in Yi Xian's mind. "No matter who you are, no matter where you come from, my second clan will definitely kill you and everyone related to you." Yi Xian suddenly roared. I'm Yang Yi from the second clan. If you have the ability, then feel free to come. It doesn't matter how many people come. I'm invincible. Do as you please." After a short moment of silence, the voice suddenly resounded again. "Wait. Wait." At this moment, Xiaota suddenly said, "Young mistress, I feel that you'll be beaten to death by master sooner or later." Yi Xian was speechless. Meanwhile, Zhou Xing appeared by Yi Xian's side. She hesitated for a moment before she said, "Will there be trouble?" Yi Xian nodded. Zhou Xing fell silent. Yi Xian smiled. "Afraid?" Zhou Xing nodded. This person's clan isn't something that the primordial universe can afford to offend. As she spoke, she looked at Yi Xian. "You don't seem to be afraid." Yi Xian smiled. "I'm afraid as well. Didn't you see that I wanted to reconcile with her? But she didn't. She just had to be stubborn." After a moment of silence, Zhou Xing said, "She might have had her head clamped by a door when she was young." Zhou Xing said softly, "Actually, I understand her." Zhou Xing said softly, "Actually, I quite understand her." Yi Xian looked at Zhou Xing. "Why?" Zhou Xing said, "In the past, many of our Zhou clan's disciples were just like her. They all felt that they were superior to others and felt that their status was special, so others should submit to them. It's not that there's something wrong with their brains, it's just that their identities are special and they've been pampered for too long." Master Yi was stunned. Xing, Ta Clan, Ta Ling, Xing Yi Xiao, Yi Xian, and Yi Xian. Zhou Xing stared at Yi Xian. "Your background is definitely not inferior to that of the second immortal, but you don't have the slightest bit of arrogance on you. Judging from your character, you don't seem like a second generation." Yi Xian smiled. "I've suffered." "Suffered?" Zhou Xing glanced at Yi Xian, but didn't say anything else. But Yi Xian felt a little emotional. His dad probably let him go because he was afraid that he would become a lawless rich second generation. Indeed, if he had been with his dad since he was born, what kind of person would he be? There was no answer, but it was good for young people to suffer a little. Yi Xian seemed to have thought of something. He left with Zhou Xing. When they reappeared, they were at the green stone square. The ball was still there. Yi Xian looked at it. Looking at the ball, he said softly, "That book of the universe should be inside, right?" A voice came from the side. Yi Xian turned around. It was Di Ming. Di Ming glanced at Yi Xian and said, "Young Master Yi, you can subdue this ball." Yi Xian said with a smile, "I thought you were gone." Di Ming hesitated for a while and said, "I want to see the book of the universe before I leave." He realized that he couldn't play any tricks when dealing with Yi Xian. It was better to be direct. Yi Xian sized up the ball and released a wisp of divine consciousness. However, as soon as the wisp of divine consciousness got close to the ball, it disappeared without a trace. Yi Xian was slightly taken aback. A hint of surprise flashed across his eyes. Di Ming suddenly said, "Young Master Yi, this ball must have a spirit. Why don't you talk to it?" Yi Xian nodded slightly. He took a look at the ball and then said, "Shall we talk?" No response. Xiaota suddenly said, "Young master, let me talk to it." As it spoke, it directly stored the ball into the small tower. Yi Xian was speechless. Before long, Xiaota said, "Young master, I'm done talking to it." Yi Xian said in a deep voice, "Really?" Xiaota said, "Yes." At this moment, the orb suddenly appeared in front of Yi Xian. Then, the orb suddenly opened. In it he saw a thick ancient book. Apart from that, he also saw a heart. However, it was a white heart, and it was still beating. The ball suddenly said, "Hello, young Master Yi." Yi Xian was speechless. The ball continued, "I am the heart of the universe, the heart of the metaverse. Young Master Yi, I will follow you from now on." Hearing this, Zhou Xing and Di Ming's expressions turned strange. It surrendered just like that? Yi Xian was curious. "Xiaota, what did you talk to it about?" Xiaota said, "I told it that soul and I are so powerful that we surrendered to you. Why didn't it surrender?" Yi Xian was speechless. Xiaota continued, "Young master, these spirits are very practical. Don't talk to them about feelings. Just be rough. Follow me and you'll have a bright future. They won't refuse. Besides, this thing has been watching you fight with that woman. It wants to see who is stronger. It will follow whoever is stronger. Yi Xian was speechless. Yi Xian suddenly said, Xiao Ta, are you following me because of feelings or something else? Xiao Ta said after a moment of silence, Young master, I'm a little sad that you asked me this. Do you know the relationship between me and master? I've been with master for almost his whole life. We've gone through thick and thin together. We have a deep relationship. You can say that with my relationship with master, it's not too much for you to call me Ta Dad. Yi Xian's face darkened. Xiao Ta said quickly, Of course, it's just a title. I don't care. Young master, you should talk to the heart of the universe first. Yi Xian shook his head. He really didn't know how his father could tolerate Xiao Ta in the past. In fact, he didn't know that Xiao Ta's personality changed after he followed him. Yi Xian looked at the heart of the universe in front of him. What should I call you? The heart of the universe said, Xiao Yuan. Yi Xian said with a smile, Xiao Yuan, can I have a look at the book of the universe? Xiao Yuan said, Yes. Then the book of the universe floated in front of Yi Xian. Yi Xian picked up the book of the universe and flipped to the first page. The first page was about some realms. The divisions of realms in the metaverse. It was very detailed and there were detailed cultivation methods. Soon Yi Xian saw the life profound realm. He looked at the description of the life profound realm. After a while, he turned to look at Zhou Xing and Di Ming. You've cultivated it wrong. Zhou Xing was silent. Di Ming wanted to say something but stopped. Yi Xian flipped to the next page. There was only one realm, Heart of Universe. What was Heart of Universe? It was the heart of the universe. Cultivating the heart of the universe would allow one to become one with the entire universe. One would be the god of the universe and could control everything. It was equivalent to a world's Tendo. Of course, it was more terrifying than a Tendo. It was not easy to cultivate to the heart of universe. The entire metaverse had been born for tens of thousands of years, but only one person had cultivated the heart of universe, and that was the person who created the book of the universe. However, this person also came from the ancient universe. This person's name was Gu Chen. In the metaverse, he was the first to reach the heart of universe, but not in the ancient universe. Moreover, in order to cultivate to the heart of universe, Gu Chen had devoured all living things in the metaverse. Simply put, he had sacrificed the universe for himself. But why was this metaverse still around? Actually, it was because of Xiao Bai. He wanted to beat up Xiao Ta. This pretentious guy. The reason why Xiao Yuan had submitted to him so readily was all because of Xiao Bai. Although the primordial universe had been devoured, the heavenly axiom of the primordial universe had survived, and the heavenly axiom of the primordial universe had found little white. It was worth mentioning that Gu Chen had died at Arya's hands. Gu Chen had been eaten alive by Arya. When he found out about this, Yi Xian felt ashamed. Damn it. Arya had really eaten people. Xiao Bai had stopped Arya from eating the heart of universe. A heart of universe represented billions of living things. Xiao Bai had no way to resurrect these billions of living things because their consciousness had been completely erased. However, she had given these billions of living things a chance to be reborn. As long as there was enough time, these billions of living things would be able to have a new spiritual consciousness. And the reason why she hadn't taken this heart of universe away was because the billions of living things in this heart of universe belonged to this metaverse. However, she had said that she would come back to see Xiao Yuan. However, once these two little fellas left, they had never returned. Xiao Yuan didn't know that these two little fellas had already gone to the Milky Way system. They had been living a carefree life there every day. Yi Xian looked at it and flipped another page. It was blank. The Book of the Universe. The Book of the Universe wasn't a divine item of the metaverse, but a supreme divine item that Gu Chen had brought from the ancient universe. Back then, he had been able to sweep through the entire metaverse because of this divine item. This book could kill experts at the Eternity Heart realm and below. As long as the name was written, if the opponent didn't have any good fortune, they would definitely die. This included the Eternity Heart Realm. However, every time he wrote it, it consumed a lot of energy. The stronger the opponent was, the more spiritual chi he would consume. To kill a Eternity Heart Realm expert, he would need to spend at least 100 star veins. Simply put, this was using money to kill. As if he had thought of something, Yi Xian suddenly said softly, "Isn't my life very tough? Do you want to try?" He actually wanted to see if this book of the universe was that powerful. Once he thought of it, he would do it. Yi Xian directly wrote 2 words on the book of the universe. Xiaota. Xiaota. P.S. Please vote. What? Chapter 2104. Xiaota. When he saw what Yi Xian had written, Xiaota couldn't help but say, "Young master, you're inhuman." Yi Xian. Just then, Xiaota started to tremble slightly. Yi Xian was shocked and quickly asked, "Xiaota, are you all right?" Xiaota said calmly, "What could possibly happen to me?" Yi Xian frowned. "Is the book of the universe useless?" Xiaota suddenly said, "Young master, I suggest you dig your eyes out." Yi Xian was puzzled. "But," Xiaota said, "because it's useless to keep them." Yi Xian took another look at the book of the universe and found the problem. It turned out that the book of the universe was only effective for those who had cultivated in the book of the universe. Xiaota hadn't cultivated at all, so it was useless for him. Yi Xian couldn't help but ask, "Xiaota, don't you cultivate at all?" Xiaota said, "Why would I cultivate?" Yi Xian said in a low voice, "Don't you have any goals?" Xiaota sighed. "Young master, I've cultivated my whole life, but I can't even compare to Sister Tianming's transformation. Tell me, what's the point of cultivating?" Yi Xian thought about it and said, "It really doesn't seem to be." Xiaota said, "I've thought it through. Xiaota, will just ride on someone's coattails for the rest of my life. One day, when you're invincible, who would dare to bully me?" Yi Xian said calmly, "When I'm invincible, I'll give you to my son. You can accompany my son to continue his legend." Xiaota was silent for a long time and said, "Young master, I beg you to be a human." Yi Xian was speechless. Di Ming suddenly said, "Young master Yi, can we have a look at the book of the universe?" He was very smart. He brought Zhou Xing along as well. He knew that the relationship between Yi Xian and Zhou Xing wasn't ordinary. Yi Xian smiled and said, "No." Di Ming smiled bitterly, but didn't dare to say anything. At this moment, Yi Xian suddenly said, "However, I can let you know what the true profound life realm is." As he spoke, he flicked his finger, and 2 rays of white light entered the space between their eyebrows. Life profound realm. The book of the universe had a very detailed description of this realm, as well as its true cultivation method. Just now, the second immortal was actually in the profound life realm. However, she was a true profound life realm cultivator. Moreover, her origin was extraordinary, and each of her killing moves was more terrifying than the last. Even a true profound life realm cultivator would not be her opponent. Simply put, this was a life profound realm with a backer. Thinking of the second immortal, Yi Xian suddenly opened his palm, and a storage ring appeared in his hand. This was what he had obtained from killing the second immortal. Yi Xian glanced at the storage ring. There were over 100 star veins in the storage ring. This was a windfall. Apart from the star veins, there were also some random divine items. Of course, since he had the Qingxian sword, he really didn't care about ordinary divine items. The Qingxian sword could attack and defend. Thinking of this, Yi Xian suddenly slapped his head. Damn, I actually forgot about the Qingxian sword's defensive ability. With the Qingxian sword's current level, if it turned into a sword shield, what couldn't it defend against? I'm such an idiot. Without thinking too much, Yi Xian's gaze fell on the 2 tokens in the storage ring. The 2 tokens were purple and red. Yi Xian opened his palm, and the 2 tokens appeared in his hand. He took a look at the 2 tokens, feeling a little curious. Previously, the second immortal had used those tokens to cast an incomparably powerful magic, especially those 2 summoning techniques. They were very strange. How to use them? Yi Xian studied them for a while. Nothing was gained. Then, Di Ming suddenly said, "Thank you, young Master Yi." Yi Xian looked at Di Ming. Di Ming bowed deeply to him. "I will repay young Master Ye's kindness in my next life." Profound life realm. Only now did he understand what the real profound life realm was. Yi Xian glanced at Di Ming and smiled inwardly, but he didn't say anything. Repay in his next life? This guy was playing tricks on him. Then Di Ming said, "Young Master Yi, I'll take my leave first." Then, he turned around and disappeared into the horizon without a trace of hesitation. Yi Xian had killed the second immortal, and the second immortal's family was bound to seek revenge. It was very, very dangerous to follow Yi Xian now. If he didn't leave now, he might not have the chance to do so in the future. Zhou Xing suddenly said, "That woman's family." Yi Xian smiled. "I will leave this place. As long as I leave, they won't come here." Zhou Xing was slightly stunned, and then she shook her head. "That's not what I meant." Yi Xian smiled. "Then I'll stay, and we'll face it together?" Zhou Xing gazed at Yi Xian. "You should leave." Yi Xian rolled his eyes at Zhou Xing. "You're really heartless." Zhou Xing spoke softly, "I'm sorry, but I can't help you." Yi Xian smiled. "This is my problem, and it has nothing to do with the metaverse or your Zhou clan. I'll deal with it myself." Zhou Xing spoke solemnly. "Can you?" Yi Xian smiled. "I'll give it a try." Zhou Xing sighed softly. She hesitated for a moment before she asked, "What's the realm above the profound life realm?" Yi Xian fell silent for a moment before he said, "I don't really want to tell you." Zhou Xing asked, "Why?" Yi Xian smiled. "It's practically impossible for all of you to cultivate to that realm right now. The Eternity Heart Realm. If one wanted to cultivate to this realm, then one had to cultivate the heart of the universe. And in order to cultivate the heart of the universe, one had to devour the entire universe. Zhou Xing was clearly unable to accomplish this with her current strength. Actually, he was slightly selfish. Little White had gone to great lengths to save this universe, and he didn't want the living beings of this universe to suffer a calamity because of him. After all, this was a place that Little White had saved. Zhou Xing glanced at Yi Xian and nodded slightly. "I understand." Yi Xian smiled. "It's good that you understand. Of course, I can't tell you even if you don't understand. Miss Zhou Xing, farewell." After he finished speaking, he turned around and left. Zhou Xing suddenly asked, "Will you come back?" Yi Xian shook his head. Zhou Xing frowned in puzzlement. "Why?" In the distance, Yi Xian roared with laughter. "Because there's no one here that I miss. So, I'll forget about this metaverse after I go to a few more universes." Zhou Xing fell silent. Meanwhile, Yi Xian had already disappeared at the end of the distant starry sky. Zhou Xing remained silent. After a long time, she shook her head and turned around to leave. There was no one to miss. To Yi Xian, the metaverse was just a passerby, and so was she. At the end of the starry sky, Yi Xian suddenly stopped because Little Soul, who was in Xiaota, was about to break through. Yi Xian returned to Xiaota. At this moment, the green profound sword was trembling violently, and a powerful aura kept gushing out of it. It was about to break through. Yi Xian was a little excited and expectant. Ever since Little Soul had been modified by Qing, it hadn't broken through again. After this breakthrough, it would definitely undergo earth-shattering changes. Earth-shattering changes. At this moment, Little Soul suddenly erupted with a dazzling sword gleam. In an instant, the entire Xiaota trembled violently. Xiaota said in a low voice, "Little Soul, be gentle." The green profound sword suddenly trembled again. Then, a ray of sword gleam rose from the green profound sword's hilt and finally disappeared into the tip of the sword. Boom! A powerful aura suddenly erupted from the green profound sword, but it quickly returned to normal. The green profound sword flew in front of Yi Xian and said excitedly, "Young master, I broke through." Yi Xian reached out and held the green profound sword. He slowly closed his eyes. After a while, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. He realized that the green profound sword was completely different from before. It had improved. All of its abilities had improved greatly. Correspondingly, If he were to use the green profound sword to execute /life and /future, its power would increase by more than a few times. It could be said that if he were to fight against the second immortal again, he could easily kill him in an instant. Not only that, but the green profound sword had also become stronger. In addition, the green profound sword's tip had become sharper. Yi Xian put the green profound sword away, and the corners of his mouth gradually widened. Although he wanted to rely more on himself now, he was very happy that the green profound sword had a breakthrough. He could not use external objects, but he must have external objects. At this moment, Xiaota suddenly said, "Young master, are we going to the ancient universe now?" Yi Xian smiled, "Yes." Xiaota hesitated for a moment, and then he said, "Do you want to cultivate for a while before going?" Yi Xian roared with laughter. "There's no need." As soon as he finished speaking, he vanished into the horizon. If he wanted to improve now, then it was extremely difficult for him to simply meditate and cultivate, because he'd practically cultivated the space-time Dao to its limits, and his current goal was to discover even stronger space-time or find even stronger experts to fight. He'd gained quite a lot from the battle with the second immortal just now. Xiaota suddenly said, "Young master, do you think that the second clan of the ancient universe would really go look for master?" Yi Xian smiled. "Didn't they say that they wanted to annihilate my entire family?" Xiaota fell silent for a moment, and then he said, "Am I considered to be part of your family?" Yi Xian said seriously, "Yes." Xiaota said in a low voice, "Damn it, they don't even intend to let me off. These rebellions are really nonsense. They want to annihilate their entire family at the drop of a hat. If they have the ability, they should be like Sister Tianming and directly annihilate an entire universe." Yi Xian was speechless. At this moment, the space-time in front of Yi Xian suddenly trembled violently, and in the next moment, an extremely powerful aura suddenly swept out from the depths of the starry sky. Along with the appearance of this aura, the entire starry sky suddenly boiled. Yi Xian said softly, "I didn't expect it to come so quickly." Xiaota said in a low voice, "Young master, what should we do?" Yi Xian smiled slightly and did not speak. At this moment, an old man suddenly appeared not far away from Yi Xian, and the old man stared at Yi Xian. "Are you the one who killed my second clan's second young mistress?" Yi Xian nodded, "That's me." The old man's expression was ferocious. "Who gave it to you?" At this moment, his pupils shrank, and his head directly flew out. One sword slashed the future. The moment the old man appeared, Yi Xian had already attacked. And this sword was only felt by the old man after he died. Yi Xian looked up at the depths of the starry sky in the distance and smiled. "I don't want to act cool, but is that all?" Xiaota was speechless. Chapter 2105. That's it? After saying that, Yi Xian turned around and left. This old man was not at the Eternal Heart realm but at the Life Profound realm. However, the second clan obviously did not know that Life Profound realm experts were like ants in Yi Xian's eyes. Soon, Yi Xian disappeared at the end of the vast starry sky. This time, his target was the ancient universe. In the starry sky, Yi Xian was riding on his sword. On the Qingxian sword, Yi Xian was constantly looking around. Everywhere he passed by, the galaxy was dazzling and beautiful. Yi Xian suddenly smiled. "The universe is so big. It's not bad to look around." Xiaota said, "Young master, do you think you can stay handsome for 3 days?" Yi Xian's expression froze. 3 days rule. Yi Xian shook his head with a smile and turned into a sword light, disappearing at the end of the universe. Ancient universe. About half a month later, Yi Xian arrived at the ancient universe. It had to be said that the ancient universe and the Yuan universe were very far apart. After all, he had used the green profound sword for half a month. An ordinary person, even at the Life Profound realm, would need at least a few months. After entering the ancient universe, Yi Xian did not directly go to the second clan. It was more important for him to understand the strength of the ancient universe and the second clan. As soon as he entered the ancient universe, He felt some extremely powerful and obscure auras. He knew that it was an Eternal Heart Realm expert. There were Eternal Heart Realm experts in the ancient universe, but there shouldn't be many of them. There shouldn't be too many of them. In theory, there shouldn't be a situation where Eternal Heart Realm experts were everywhere. Of course, Yi Xian dared not guarantee it. After all, this world was a bit nonsensical, especially when it came to realms. At this moment, the space-time in the distance suddenly shattered. The next moment, a young man rushed out from the space-time in front of Yi Xian. When he saw Yi Xian, the young man was slightly stunned. Then, a trace of ferocity flashed in his eyes. At the same time, he slowly clenched his right hand. Meanwhile, the space behind the young man suddenly split open, and then a man in a black robe walked out from within. The black-robed man's gaze landed on Yi Xian. "You guys are in cahoots?" The young man was taken aback. He looked at Yi Xian and asked, "You guys aren't together?" It was obvious that both of them treated Yi Xian as the other's accomplice. Yi Xian glanced at the two and said with a smile, "Continue." With that, he turned around and left. Meanwhile, the young man suddenly said, "Wait." Yi Xian turned around and looked at the young man. "What's the matter?" The young man hesitated for a moment before opening his palm, and a storage ring slowly floated in front of Yi Xian. "Help me bring this to the Immortal clan, and you'll obtain an enormous opportunity." Yi Xian looked at the storage ring and shook his head. The young man narrowed his eyes. 100 star veins. Yi Xian shook his head again and turned to leave. He couldn't get involved in an unknown grudge. At that moment, the distant horizons suddenly split open. In the next moment, an elder slowly walked out. Seeing the elder, the young man behind Yi Xian was overjoyed. Elder Yun Xiao. On the other hand, the expression of the black-robed old man behind the young man sank because he hadn't arrived yet. At that moment, the young man suddenly looked at Yi Xian. "Elder Yun Xiao, stop him." Hearing that, the elder called Yun Xiao suddenly pressed his right hand towards Yi Xian. With that, the space Yi Xian was turned into a cage. Yi Xian's expression was calm. He turned around and looked at the young man. The young man glanced at the black-robed man. "Elder Yun Xiao, it's not a good time to clash with Divine Sect." There was a direct confrontation, so, as he spoke, he made a gesture of cutting his throat. Evidently, they wanted to kill the black-robed man but didn't want others to know that they killed him. Thus, they wanted to silence Yi Xian. At this moment, Yi Xian frowned. "Is there something wrong with you?" The young man looked at Yi Xian. "You think you're innocent? Of course, you're innocent. However, who told you to see something you shouldn't have?" Yi Xian had a headache. "I really don't want to get involved in your matters. Don't make trouble for me, all right?" The young man looked straight at Yi Xian. The young man's throat suddenly split open and a stream of blood spurted out. Elder Yun Xiao and the black-robed elder's expressions instantly changed. Yi Xian looked straight at the young man. "You think you're innocent?" "Of course, I don't think you're innocent at all." The young man covered his throat with both hands and stared straight at Yi Xian. "I'm an immortal," Yi Xian suddenly said angrily. "Shut up. I hate people who rely on their backing when they can't win. You don't have any principles at all. Seriously." With that said, a sword sliced off the young man's head. Blood spurted into the sky. It was extremely bloody. Cloudy Sky Elder looked at Yi Xian with shock in his eyes. Who are you?" Yi Xian glanced at Elder Yun Xiao. With a thought, the latter's head flew off. It was an instant kill. The black-robed man was dumbfounded. What kind of god did he meet? At this moment, Yi Xian opened his palm. The young man's storage ring flew into his hand. He glanced at it. There was only a map in the storage ring. Yi Xian frowned slightly. He looked at the black-robed man in the distance. "What map is this?" The black-robed man glanced at Yi Xian and did not speak. Yi Xian smiled. "I usually don't like to ask twice." The black-robed man said solemnly, "The map of the Godly King Ruins." "The Godly King Ruins?" After a moment of silence, Yi Xian nodded. "I understand. This map belongs to the second clan now. Do you have any objections?" The black-robed man glanced at Yi Xian and shook his head. At this moment he was extremely shocked. How did the second clan know about this map? It wasn't a coincidence that this man appeared here. It was premeditated. Yi Xian turned around and left. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared into the horizon. Not long after Yi Xian left, an old man appeared. The old man looked at the black-robed man and said solemnly, "Li Feng, where's the map?" The man called Li Feng said solemnly, "It was taken by the second clan." The second clan. The old man frowned. How did the second clan know about the map? Li Feng shook his head. "I don't know either. He just killed someone from the celestial family." The old man said solemnly, "And killed someone from the celestial family." As he spoke, he looked at Li Feng. "He didn't kill you?" Li Feng nodded. The old man fell silent for a moment before saying, "He wants to frame the second clan." Li Feng looked at the old man. "Why do you say that?" The old man was expressionless. "If he really is from the second clan, do you think you can still live? The reason he didn't kill you is because he wants to frame the second clan." Li Feng fell silent for a moment before saying, "Then what do we do now?" The old man said calmly, "Just watch." As he spoke, he looked into the starry sky. Someone actually wants to target the second clan. Interesting. Unfortunately, he underestimated the intelligence of the second clan and the celestial family. They won't fall for it. In the starry sky, Yi Xian stopped and took out the map from his spatial ring. After looking at it for a moment, he found that he couldn't understand it at all. This was because he wasn't familiar with the ancient universe at all, and the location of this map was clearly within the ancient universe. At this moment, Xiao Ta suddenly said, "Young lord, will they go cause trouble for the second clan?" Yi Xian smiled. "If they really go cause trouble for the second clan, I'll make a huge profit. If they don't, I won't lose anything either. Isn't that right?" After a moment of silence, Xiao Ta said, "Brilliant." Yi Xian laughed out loud. Then he disappeared from where he was. 2 hours later, Yi Xian had basically figured out the ancient universe. In this ancient universe, there were 4 super forces. They were the celestial family, the divine sect, the second clan, and the Buddhist sect. In fact, apart from these 4 super forces, there was originally another force, which was the ancient temple clan. The ancestors of the ancient temple clan were the pioneers of this ancient universe. Unfortunately, the ancient temple clan gradually declined and was finally destroyed by the alliance of the 4 clans. Now, the ancient temple clan had completely disappeared. At this moment, Yi Xian suddenly turned around. Not far away from him, a woman slowly walked over. The woman wore a white dress and had shoulder-length hair. She held a silver saber in her hand. Yi Xian looked at the woman. "The second clan?" The woman shook her head. Yi Xian frowned. "Then you are." The woman said softly, "Young Master Yi, the second clan has discovered your arrival. Not only that, but they also know that the map is in your hands. Your sowing discord is useless." Yi Xian smiled. "It doesn't matter if it's useless. Lady, I'm a little curious. How do you know me? I think it's my first time in the ancient universe." The woman said, "Not long ago, a genius girl from the second clan suddenly died. That girl was called the second immortal. She was the focus of the second clan. However, she was too arrogant and conceited. She left the ancient universe on her own and went to the Yuan universe. She never returned. Obviously, someone from the Yuan universe killed her. Compared to the ancient universe, the Yuan universe is a lower-level universe. However, someone from there could kill her. Don't you think we're curious?" Yi Xian nodded. "That makes sense. Lady, why are you looking for me?" The woman walked slowly to Yi Xian. "Young Master Yi, you can't fight against the second clan alone. Especially now that young Master Yi killed someone from the Immortal clan. If the 2 clans join hands, young Master Yi, you won't be able to survive." Yi Xian asked with a smile, "So?" The woman looked straight at Yi Xian. "Cooperate with us." Yi Xian looked at the woman. "You are." The woman said, "Young Master Yi will know when the time comes." Yi Xian shook his head and smiled. He turned and left. The woman frowned. Why? Yi Xian didn't say anything. At this moment, an old man suddenly stood in front of Yi Xian. The old man looked at Yi Xian. We're looking for you because we think highly of you. Don't refuse a toast. Before he finished speaking, a sword was suddenly inserted into the old man's throat. A stream of blood spurted out from the back of the old man's neck. Yi Xian looked straight at the old man who was terrified. He smiled. When you talk to me, you have to be more respectful. Do you understand? As he spoke, he turned to look at the woman not far away. Do you think I'm weak? The woman was speechless. P.S. I suddenly found out that there are 2 more Alliance Masters. Thank you, Fan Xiaoxian reader, for your gifts. Thank you very much. Shocking. Thank you, all the readers who gave me gifts. Thank you for everyone's support. The holidays are over. Work hard on writing. Try not to be a second novel. You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.